Hello. What is happening, everybody? Round two. Right? Right? Starting off with a shot. Small shot and then some beer. There we go. That's the one. All right. Saturday night, got to keep the party rolling. Got to keep that party rolling. Welcome to the Patreon stream. Something I like to do once a month if you're new to it. And if you want to be a part of it, subscribe to the Patreon. Try to give extra content as much as I can. And then, of course, once a month, we try to meet on here, talk to the Patreon family. Anybody who wants to be, that's part of it and wants to come on and have a little chat, that's what happens here. That's right. So, yeah. So if you want to hop on and give your opinions about, of course, what happened this week, because we're going to continue on talking about the DCU Chapter 1. Join in, guys. I also just launched a new shirt on, I launched a new shirt on my Teespring finally, one that I had in my Photoshop for a long time, and I finally launched it. But I don't know if it's actually showing up at the bottom of the video here or anything like that. Shut up. But yeah, so I actually did launch a new shirt, which was cool. Let's see. It's not showing up at the bottom. Probably not. I don't know. My laptop's been acting up. But anyway, it's a Batman shirt. So I need to order one myself so then I could start and make sure everything looks good with it. But yeah, launched a new shirt. I think for anybody who is part of the Patreon, I'll do like a little discount if you want to get that shirt. It's pretty cool. It's basically, I don't know if it's even showing, or I could just probably share the screen. Yeah. Where's it at? I'll show you guys the shirt real quick before we start bringing on the Patreon. But I don't know, just like I saw like an idea like this on Twitter at one point, and I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea, but I didn't like how they did it. So I did my own version of it, and I call it the Bat font. The Bat font. Just kind of took different fonts from 66, 89, Batman Forever, the Batman animated series, and Batman Beyond. So it's just what it is right there. So yeah, it's in the thing right now. So it's not too shabby. Got to order myself one. So I also got to put the background up there. So pretty cool. Not too shabby. What up? If you're still okay, Jose. Oh, you're going to be on your break and you're going to show up on your phone like you did last time. Don't lie. Anyways, all right. Let me say hi to everybody first here. I forgot to. All right, we got Alien Sex Love Noise Sounds. I need James Gunn to cast Isabel May for Supergirl. I don't know who that is quite. Might have to look her up. What's going on, Ryan? Good to see you. We got MSGT. What goes on this channel on Saturdays? Well, like I said, once a month, this is what happens. Another, little added party right here. What's going on, Eric? So, yeah, I had certain, let's see. This is nicely soon. Yeah, I just figured since, I posted it on the Patreon and I mentioned it on Film Junkie Live as well. I had a certain on-screen dinner plans for the follow. Okay. Cool. Well, join if you can. Who else we got? We got Tet right here. Good to see you. Saggy. Saggy. Are you awake? This time? What's going on? Nice surprise. I know. Well, I figured, I was like, because we did one probably like 2 weeks ago, maybe. But we hadn't done a Patreon stream in a long time, so I figured I'd do one quicker. And then obviously with the news that came out. What's going on, Mr. Phil? Always good to see you, buddy. You are here. Let's see. We got Miss Cat right here also. Cheers. And then, of course, Jose. I'll jump on. So just get Steve. Yeah. Oy. Nah. Yeah, last night was pretty much madness, man. It was like a lot of people wanted to come on last night, and I had 2 guests. So it was full. So there was a lot of like trying to, get people to, hey, hold on, let's let the guest answer first. I've been hearing people try to say that the Authority is going to be a commentary of the Snyderverse characters. Well, I don't believe that. What do you think? That's just people prematurely acting like that. I'm pretty sure just by hearing what James Gunn said when he said it's a passion project, is because it's going to heavily be based on the books. All these are going to be heavily based on books. Well, we talked about it last night. It was super smart. Happy Saturday, Christian. Super smart for them to basically reveal which books these movies are going to be based off of. I think that's super smart because now they're like the books are selling out because people want to know. So just pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing this. Let's see. Let me bring. All right. Let's see. You got some people. All right. Let me go ahead and set the invite. Okay. So, all right. Because I'm going to send one through DMs right here because something was not working for the Patreon. All right. Posting it right now, guys. Posting the link right now. I should already have the link set. But lazy day today. Always got to have a lazy day. I had a lazy day. I wasn't too hungover, but had a lazy day. Watched some things, and then of course, Patreon stream link. All right, here you go. All right, sent the link right now. Let's see. Got that. Sorry. Doing this. Smells like deliciousness. Like 1/3 of these stories are, yeah, exactly. Grant Morrison. I mean, a lot of Grant Morrison is going to be interesting. There's some books that I've read and some books I haven't. So I'm definitely going to, be, let's see, let's send it right here. I'm definitely going to do some homework though. But like I said, it's pretty smart that they're doing it like that. I think, smart, absolutely smart. All right. We get some patrons in here. All right. Let's see. We got everything good. That's good. All right. Let's go ahead and bring on. We got Eric. We got Phil. And we got RJ. What's happening, guys?
Hello.
How's it going? Whoa. We got some feedback. Eric, is that you? Or is that RJ? It's RJ.
I don't think it's mine. No.
No, it's not yours.
Not mine.
Yeah.
RJ, you driving?
No, I'm not. Might be my audio quality. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I think you're all right now. It didn't sound like it was bad when you came back on. But, hey, it's the first time for you, RJ. Thanks for showing up. Thank you for being a part of the Patreon family.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've been wanting to join for a while now, and finally just worked out where today was the day. So
cool. Appreciate it. How's it going, Eric?
Yeah, pretty good. Like I said, I had plans after last episode because I had a pretty good idea exactly what I wanted to bring, what food I wanted to bring on, and I think you can all pretty much figure out what I wanted to do. But obviously, because I said this one was kind of like I said, it was kind of unexpected because it was so soon after last episode. So I was like, wait, because I already had dinner. But you know what? I got a drink from it. Vanilla Coke, everybody.
Vanilla Coke. Doing a vanilla Coke. Nice.
Yeah, but I will say, I do have something interesting to show. How in Disney, in Disney Hollywood Studios, whatever, there's a build your own lightsaber. There's actually two. There's one in Galaxy's Edge, which is the super expensive one, and then there's the one by Star Tours, which is the more general, affordable one, and that was the one that I built. And so this is my lightsaber, everybody.
Oh wow.
Yeah, double bladed.
Oh, neat.
Split it into two.
Kylo Ren type. Okay.
Red. Yeah, light side and dark side. See, like that.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting.
Pretty cool, huh?
Not bad. And Phil, how you?
I'm good, man. Great.
It's like, get a word in.
I'm cool, man. Just having a great time. Just chilling.
Drinking anything or just chilling?
Oh yeah, I just have some Arizona. I'm not drinking.
Not boozing it. Okay, that's cool. Well, again, thank you guys for showing up. Lots of things happen over this week. How we feeling about it?
Oh, it's been a while. I don't think I was on the last Patreon stream. I was busy doing something. Maybe When'd you do the last one? A couple weeks ago?
It was a couple weeks ago because I didn't do one for the month of December because
was it
everything
like
got-
the weekend of the January 20th,
probably
21st?
something like that. I don't-
Okay, that was
yeah,
my
something
birthday
like
weekend. I was away, so I probably couldn't have made it.
Yeah, I think I remember you said you were going to
Tahoe.
Tahoe. Yes, how was that?
Oh, that was glorious.
I
It
bet.
was fantastic. It was fabulous. It was awesome. I went up to Tahoe, had a lot of beer, played a game called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
What the
card
hell?
game.
Cool.
Dude,
What?
I shit you not. It's like one of the coolest card games I've played in a long time. But
Really?
watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was great. Yeah, it was a pretty cool.
That
birthday
sounds like
weekend. Yeah.
Sounds like a good time. Yeah, I went to Tahoe for my brother's 40th. And,
Oh, there you go.
That was great. Yeah, that was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think it was before the pandemic, which is crazy. But yeah, beautiful up there. Everything.
Wish
was
I
good.
had something fun to share, but I've just been knee deep. I just started student teaching, so
Okay.
that's
still
Congrats.
something.
no,
yeah.
yeah. Well, no, thank you. It's just I've just been knee deep in work, so this is how my life's been the last 2 weeks. So
Yeah. Cool. Like it's okay, so you're teaching. What are you teaching exactly? Sorry, I forgot if I missed that.
so there's some things I can't say because I signed legal documents, but basically I'm just like doing an internship to like get certified to become a teacher. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
Interesting.
working at a middle school. So
Nice. Well, that's something. That's something. I mean, it's not Tahoe, but
no, it's not Tahoe. Trust me, once I graduate in April, I am trying very hard to plan some kind of trip. Because I've not been, because you mentioned Galaxy's Edge, I've not been there ever since it opened. I've wanted to go for years, just never went. So I don't know where I'm going to go, but
It's pretty pricey though, isn't it? Or is it like reasonable?
dude, I've been trying to plan a Disney World trip for months. It's so
Yeah.
expensive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you live, RJ?
I live over a place Scott, Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so you're closest. Okay, cool.
yeah, so
I mean,
if I
like-
was going to go anywhere, it'd be Orlando, but Disney
Yeah.
World is the most expensive. So
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what's up.
Yeah, I mean, like the family and I, like we have the privilege, if you will, of like living in Florida and Central Florida. So like we had annual passes, but the annual passes will be over in April. But still, we made a lot of good use out of it.
As you should.
Absolutely. Like I said, this baby right here.
That's pretty cool. Does that cost anything? I'm sure that costs stuff. That doesn't come with like your whole thing. Yeah.
No, like the lightsaber. Oh, it costs about but it will basically like with the discounts of my having annual pass and all that.
Okay,
It basically,
that's what I was wondering.
basically this beauty, like it basically came down to around a 30 something. I forget exactly how much, but yeah, with the discounts. But like normally, this double bladed thing would have cost like I don't know 45, maybe 50. But yeah.
That's not bad.
That's not
I
bad
know
at all.
that at
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge, like one of the things I saw, because my brother collects
Whoa.
lightsabers and memorabilia too.
Yeah,
I know
like
there's
the
some
Gal-
like the Cal Kestis lightsaber, I think, which
Yeah.
like it's like those character ones. So like those are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Galaxy's Edge lightsabers, those are the ones that are like the high quality ones. Those cost about like $200 each or something. Like that's a pretty
They're
penny.
expensive.
Like this was the Star Tours one, which is like the plastic ones.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
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 Now my brother has one of the. I think he has Mace Windu's legit lightsaber. It was like $200 plus. Man.
Yeah.
It was like he paid some money for that, but it's nice. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
When I was a kid, I went to Disneyland and we went to, Star Tours and all that stuff. But I wound up getting a Qui-Gon Jenn's lightsaber.
Nice.
This was like shortly after Phantom Menace had come out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that
I mean,
was rad.
I had when Phantom Menace first came out, I had the Qui-Gon lightsaber, but it was the plastic one because it wasn't. I didn't have the kind, but that was basically I got a kick out of Qui-Gon. So there you go. Well, it's Liam Neeson. Who wouldn't? So
I've always loved that movie. Like I watched it last night.
Well,
It was
yeah.
fantastic. I love that
Yeah,
movie.
same here. But for me, it's because look, I was a kid. We were kids, and we like slapstick. So I actually, as a kid, I got a kick out of Jar Jar, and I understand people don't like him, and I understand why. But as a kid,
That's
look,
not
it's
all
the
why I
kind-
love the movie, but go on.
Yeah, I know, but it's the kind of thing. And same with the pod racing and all that stuff that where all these like deviations from the story, like when they go through the center of the planet with all these sea monsters and all that. It's got nothing to do with the story, but it was fun because it's for kids, fun kid stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I will say, I still think it's got one of the best lightsaber fight scenes.
Oh, absolutely!
Hands down, without question, and arguably the best lightsaber fight with live action thus far.
It really is. I mean, I know, like Revenge of the Sith, the Obi-Wan, and
that one's close.
That one's close, but there's just something about Darth Maul and the double, obviously the 2-on-1, and then when Obi-Wan just like goes, "I'm gonna fuck you up," and then just like when he comes out, and it's just din, 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 din. I just remember the theater like erupted, going, "Oh my god!"
Man. The score is what makes that the best.
Yeah, of course, it's a classic. But of course, lest we forget, Darth Maul had the high ground. What good did that bring him?
That's true. You have a point there, sir. Again, all right. We got William showing up right now. What's going on, sir?
What's RJ doing? That's like walking into a really cool restaurant and just seeing a
listen, I would have been here like the last couple streams to say I didn't work out my schedule wise. So it's
whatever. Just that's fine. You don't want to come somewhere with me? That's fine. I don't take that personally. Congratulations on this whole teaching thing. That's going to age you about 20 years?
Yeah. I know.
Oh no, I know. I'm already getting the moisturizer cream and all that
stuff.
Scott's like what, 21, 22?
Yeah. He's very young. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So have fun. Wow, what a wild week.
Oof.
All right, so let's go around the horn here, kind of like I did last night. Thank you, William, of course, for joining. And of course. Yeah. So how are we feeling? Okay, so basically what I was asking last night for everybody on the panel was obviously how are we feeling about this the DCU Chapter 1 and which is the one you're most excited for? So Eric, go first.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by all of it. I mean, look, as far as excited, well, look, I haven't been excited since it was announced that like Henry was no longer like the main DCU Superman. But again, the fact that Gunn actually he said I've talked with Cavill for for any potential coming in the future. But I am fascinated by what it is. So I am intrigued by it. So it's like, Gunn, you have my curiosity. You certainly have my attention. But the big thing, I'm looking at Superman Legacy, and I was just very intrigued by the title. It's like Legacy of all things. Okay, this is the first movie about a young Superman who's a rookie by now, and the name and the title of the movie is Legacy.
That's one of the things I was wondering myself.
Yeah, because now here's the thing. We have talked about that if Henry Cavill's Superman is going to come back, it would be in a kind of multiverse thing, like whether it's Kingdom Come or what have you.
A Crisis.
And, Crisis, and especially Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that's the one that I would love to see the most, because it would be, the Snyderverse would be a good counterpart to Earth 2 of, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Clark is older, he and Lois are married, and they have kids and so on. So that would be a nice little parallel where you would see Henry and Amy again, but like older, but obviously they're older and they're married and they have kids. But I can't help the thought cannot escape my head. And maybe this could be wishful thinking, I don't know, but I can't help thinking Legacy. What if a big part of the movie is rookie Superman learning or encountering or having the knowledge of other Supermans in another universe who is more experienced, and he's basically getting kind of desperate. He's like, look, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and maybe he goes to maybe he encounters by pure luck. I don't know how, but maybe another Superman he encounters, maybe No Way Home style. I don't know.
Nah, I don't think they're gonna jump on that quite yet. I'm just kind of.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But it is a little odd. But on the same line, it's a little odd that the introduction to Batman, he's going to already have Damian.
Yeah, which I think, that's gonna be, well, I actually watched Super Sons today. Finally,
Yeah,
really enjoyed that. That's a really, it was, yeah,
Fun
I
movie.
really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. And I was like,
Animation
part of me
wasn't
was
half
like,
bad.
he did Star Wars better than the Suicide Squad. Just kidding.
I agree. 100%.
No, I'm
I
actually
agree.
not kidding. I actually thought they did
Yeah.
Star Wars. I mean, there was like the scene when with Batman and Damian, I will kill you, father. Oh, father. I can't wait till we hear Damian keep calling him father when it comes to Brave and the Bold. But Phil,
I dig
how
that.
about you? What how are you feeling about it, and what's your what stood out for you?
Okay, so before the slate was announced, I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel. I mean, obviously, the news of Henry Cavill not being Superman anymore and James Gunn writing a Superman movie wasn't exactly in my ballpark, I suppose would be the best way to say that. I don't know. James Gunn's kind of a hit miss writer for me personally. He's now got the keys to the kingdom. That said, I wasn't really expecting much. I was expecting like 4 or 5, maybe 6 projects. He full on did 10, 4 films. What is it, like 5 shows, something like that? Anyway, you got Creature Commandos, Waller, Superman Legacy, The Authority, which I was kind of shocked by because hardly anybody knows them.
Exactly. I had to look it up. I remember hearing the name before, but then it was just like, what?
Literally, like the only time I ever heard the Authority mentioned DC wise is Superman versus the Authority.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
I've read Superman and The Authority by Grant Morrison.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
That's a really solid run.
Well, there you go.
Personally, and of course, you've also got the Themysciran show. What is it, Paradise Lost? And you've got Brave and the Bold. That one really surprised me. I didn't expect another Batman movie. I kind of expected Batman to be kind of a side character and coming in and out until maybe after Matt Reeves was done with his stuff. But no, coming out the gate with a new Batman and having it be Damian Wayne Robin, that's exciting. That's hands down without question probably my most anticipated project, followed probably by Swamp Thing, Lanterns, Paradise Lost, maybe. Booster Gold. I can just already tell that's well, I'm not going to try and speak on behalf of it. It really feels like some of the comedic cues are going to be Peacemaker level. I'm just not. No. No, thanks. I'm good. But
Booster Gold is going to be like Gunn's bread and butter, seriously. And look, the fact that he said earlier that he has every intention of bringing in the Guardians crew, but giving them roles. And I have been thinking this for a very long time that Chris Pratt is made for Booster Gold.
That's the one I keep hearing. Yeah,
it seems like that would be the case, but it's almost too obvious, and I don't
exactly.
That's why I don't like it.
I prefer Glenn Powell.
I'd be down with that.
Well, it's obvious because it's solid. It's a solid casting. Seriously,
I know it is.
Now,
but I mean, it's just too obvious. That's all.
A couple things that for me personally that I took away from it though is like it's almost reminiscent of when DC kind of in their modern era first started doing live action stuff, because you have Batman and Superman on film, you have a Supergirl film that follows a Superman to some extent, you have Swamp Thing on film, and then you've got Wonder Woman on television. And then it's also interesting to me that they've got the Authority and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow on there. I think personally, I people are calling the Authority something close. Oh, they're going to make it like the boys, and I don't think that's the intent at all. I mean, you could probably make that argument, but for me personally, I think the Authority has the potential to be like the next Watchmen. And there's that rumor kicking around that Ben Affleck's been in talks to direct one of these flicks, and a lot of people want it to be Brave and the Bold. I could definitely see that happening, but I think it'd be pretty interesting if you wound up doing the Authority too.
Yeah, I think like the main reason everyone thinks that it would be Brave and the Bold, I mean, leaving aside, he was Batfleck, but Batman is his passion. Like, he loves that character so much that he agreed to play Daredevil because he thought that was the closest he would ever come to being Batman. Yeah. And so that's why I think, look, if he's not going to be Batfleck anymore, like still directing Batman but not starring in it would be part of a passion project for him, I think.
Absolutely. RJ, your turn. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I talked about this a little bit before, but what I like about it is you're kind of noticing they didn't stray too far away from some heavy hitters. You got at least something Trinity related in this first chapter, which is good. You got Lanterns. For me, I'm going to go with 2. The one which I think everyone would agree with is least towards like the top 1 or 2 choice is Lanterns. You tell me we're getting like a space cop show with Hal and John, and it's going to be in the vein of like True Detective.
That's crazy.
I mean that just sounds like great. Like that's perfect. My
only thing is just like just make it. Don't
mess
around with Green Lantern. Just make it. That's my only. Just that's it. I'm sorry, RJ. Just
exactly. And like just Hal Jordan and John Stewart being the central characters, and it's a detective story. This has only been the idea ever since David Goyer talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. The other one I'm going to throw in might be a surprise to people. I'm actually going to put Waller up there. And that's mostly because I really like the people working on it. I mean, Viola Davis, she's always fantastic. But when they say, like, okay, writer and showrunners of Watchmen and the Doom Patrol show, I'm like, okay, you piqued my interest. Like, I don't know if that's going to be, like, a really, like, what's the word for it? Like, a really, like, showy kind of show where it's like, oh, it's, like, a lot of action. But if you do, like, some really good character work and drama stuff, that might be interesting. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's gonna. I mean, obviously, when it came to casting, I mean, Viola Davis was just like, that was an amazing casting. It's like now I can't even imagine a different Amanda Waller. So the fact that she's getting her own show.
Yeah,
let me talk, Eric. Eric, let me talk. But I'm glad that that's sticking around because she's fantastic. But it's just going to be interesting to see how it all like kind of the whole thing about like how something's getting rebooted, something's not. I mean, I guess we just have to wait till after the Flash to really get a sense of where things are heading and anything like that. But it's definitely going to be interesting.
In terms of Waller, it's like I just kind of like the talent involved behind that. You've got man, it's Jeremy Carver and I forget Crystal Henry.
I think so. I think those are the names.
Yeah. From Watchmen. Like you have you have 2 writers and showrunners from Doom Patrol and Watchmen, like some of the most successful shows on HBO Max. So it's got some really solid talent behind it. I've got good.
And you got Drew Goddard that also is in there too as part of the writing.
Oh yeah, the writers room they've assembled. I really piqued my interest as well. I really like who they got.
You know what really made me happy about that writers room? No Jeff Johns.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will say, building on what Dave was saying, and I apologize, Dave, like I was building on because what you said was exactly what I was thinking. Is that if you were going to have one cast member be the J.K. Simmons for DC, who is always going to be J. Jonah Jameson, period, because no one else can play him as good, it would be Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
Yeah, you have a point there. Yeah, for sure. All right, William. Now, I mean, you've been quiet the whole time you're here, so now it's time for you to unleash.
Nah, there's really not much unleashing. There was some stuff that he released on Tuesday that I have no use for, but I'll still get into. As a 40-year comic book fan, I have never had a use for Booster Gold. I don't think that's going to change, but I'll watch it. The Superman and the Authority, I am aware of that stuff, but and the Authority itself, it's been around for quite a while. I actually think it precedes the Boys, if I'm not correct.
1992 Wildstorm, I think.
Yeah, it precedes the Boys. So if there's any copy, it's the other way around. The Superman Woman of Tomorrow, I thought was it's an underrated book. I mean, I know it's shooting up in price now because people.
I am blown away by like how much it's sold out on Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Like it's out.
It's a Tom King book, so I ordered several of them when it came out. So I still got plenty here.
Tom King is probably at his best when he does mini and maxi series. When he does long running stuff, it's not quite.
Agreed.
6 to 8 issues he's really good at. The Green Lantern, I thought it was a must. If there was anything that they did release, no matter what else it was, the Green Lantern finally getting that out there was a must as far as being able to tell stories on different platforms, because you can use the Green Lantern IP to tell different stories with different Green Lantern depending on how you want to approach the story. So I thought that was long overdue. The Paradise Lost, I think it probably might end up being my favorite one. He had me at Game of Thrones, and as far as it being on HBO Max, it really needs to be sort of like Spartacus Blood and Sand. So I hope they don't give it some PG or G-rated garbage. If they're going to put it on HBO Max, it needs to be at the standards.
Well,
and
the
levels
teaser
that
image
like
of
that.
Paradise Lost showed like one of the Amazonians stabbing a dude through the neck. So I think that kind of
sword.
sets
I think
the
it's
tone
going to
right
be
there.
R-rated. See, that's the thing too, and a lot of people are worried. Like, I mean, and then of course, I mean, I get it. If you don't like James Gunn, I get it. I'm not. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I'm right in the middle when it comes to all this. But like a lot of people, when I mean, I don't know how many times I've used like hyperbole in the past few months because it just seems like there's just so much hyperbole out there. Like, oh, he's gonna make everything dick and fart jokes. Everything's gonna be the same tone. It's like, no, it's not.
Well, because we as fans aren't, and I'm talking to all of us, aren't the brightest.
No. Well, I mean, it's all emotions. It's a lot of emotion. That's
100%.
I mean,
just like the fuckers that were like saying about Snyder that he makes everything brooding and dark and everything. Fuck, no, it's like he can also he changes it up too.
I think the most important thing that when you're going to approach this is there is no such thing as James Gunn's bread and butter. A storyteller is a storyteller is a storyteller. Just because you haven't seen something from someone, and usually it's because that hasn't been what's been asked of them. I'll go back to Jonathan Demme, the same guy who directed Married to the Mob, directed Silence of the Lambs. So a storyteller can tell a story if he's at this level.
I mean, the guy who did Deliverance went on to do Excalibur. So there you go.
I was going to mention too.
Cameron did Piranha 3D. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and Craig Mazin, who's doing The Last of Us, came from Scary Movie and Superhero Movie.
That's true. Very true.
I mean, I'll say this: like I've said many times, I've said it here on the stream that. Is that everybody who thinks that Gunn would just do it would just like be like a typical Marvel like Joss Whedon or Taika Waititi is like no. If you watch the Guardians movies, he has moments for humor and he has moments for drama, and he doesn't sacrifice the dramatic moments for a joke. He is not Joss Whedon. He doesn't do that. Like he is
Taika Waititi, Jojo Rabbit, and then he goes on to produce what I consider to be trash and some of the Thor movies. That same guy put out an Academy Award winning screenplay.
Which I enjoyed. Yeah.
And then that same guy put out Love and Thunder.
Yeah. But again, it's like Gunn, even his Marvel movies, he still had the dramatic moments that were dramatic moments. Like that moment in Guardians 2 between where Quill confronts his father about, letting his mother die alone was like, and he gets really angry about it. That moment where he gets angry about it, I was like, wow, I was blown away by that. That's perhaps some of the best acting I've seen Chris Pratt do.
No, and
I also remember
even looking at the trailer for number 3, I'm kind of going like, holy shit, there's going to be some dramatic moments in Guardians 4.
He wasn't running Marvel when he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy. He's now running the show. So when you're working for somebody versus when you're the man, your storytelling is probably going to evolve to a different level as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we can hope for right there. I mean, obviously he's going to have his fingerprints on all the projects, which naturally, just like Kevin Feige has his fingerprints on all the projects. But I do like the fact that they were emphasizing that we want filmmakers to do their thing. We're going to have different tones. It's not he even said it's not the Gunverse.
Oh yeah, he's. Well, did any of you guys read that Variety article interview that came out the other day about like?
Yeah, I think I skimmed it.
Yeah, because he mentioned because they went on like this. Him and Safran on this big diatribe about how writers in Hollywood needed to be the ones in charge, not directors. How writers get often disrespected in terms of the process, and they said some really interesting stuff about their filmmaking philosophy with this whole universe. And I thought it's kind of reassuring a little bit. Like you really are trying to do something different where they like he kind of took some digs at Marvel too a little bit because he talked about how he mentioned something about how when we start production we don't want it to be where the third act isn't even written yet and we're having to do rewrites as we're filming. Like
I think it was a little dig at Green Lantern also. I felt it was a little dig at Green Lantern because we know that thing was a whole shit show.
And remember he and Gunn took a big dig at the old regime for like what they did to Zack Snyder.
Oh yeah. And what they did to Cavill too.
Yeah,
same
Cavill.
And, exactly. And now I like that he got candid about that. I did. Of course,
Yeah, and kudos to him for talking about Cavill. He's like, look, he's making clear, Cavill is not the Superman for this universe because my Superman is a youngster and a rookie, but I'm very sad about what happened to him. he deserved to have his full run. It's just not my run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kept on saying, get Superman's house in order. That's what needs to be the case. And the whole thing that happened with Black Adam and Dwayne Johnson.
It's just a shame because I don't think that DeLuca and Pam Abdi and Zaslav set James Gunn up for success because you're making a decision, which I understand it was a last minute thing because it's either we do it or we don't do it. And you thought doing it would bolster box office. And I get that. You're trying to protect your financial investment, but you're also not looking out for your talent and you're not looking out for the guy who's about to step in. Because I have to imagine while they were playing that Black Adam cameo, they've had to have already been talking to James Gunn.
Yes.
I don't think so. I think Zaslav was talking to James Gunn. I don't think Abney and DeLuca would. And here's what should have happened, though. Here's what should have happened. Abney and DeLuca should have been put in charge solely of wrapping up what was pre-existing.
Yeah.
James Gunn should have been handling everything at that point on. There should still have been some Cavill left because this is sloppy. This whole thing, as much as I like most of the stuff that came out on Tuesday, the highest I can give it as far as its success rate right now as we sit on February 4th is 40%. Yeah. And a lot of that doesn't have anything to do with James Gunn himself. Most of it doesn't. It's just the way this has been handled. People aren't, they're not one brain cell animals. They don't forget about this stuff. And I'm not talking about the screen. I'm talking about the general audience. A general audience doesn't have to be a nerd to know you hadn't seen Superman in 5 years.
Exactly.
So it's a problem in the way this was handled. They should have gone forward with some Cavill projects to the point where it slightly overlaps to what he's doing. There should have been a transition and it should have been orderly, so that your customer is not looking at a broken up piece of garbage and trying to piece it together in their mind while intaking this new stuff, which is some of it is very cool. But it's not whether it was cool or not, it's the delivery. Sometimes the messenger kills the message before it can even be heard.
Exactly. I mean, we know the stories, and many of us we're in the theater where people cheered at Henry Cavill showing up in the credit scene of Black Adam. Now, you can say that, well, it didn't get the box office that we were hoping for, but still, the fact that the people
blame the guy who greenlit. If you wanted massive box office, blame the person who greenlit a C-lister. If you were looking for massive box office when it comes to Shazam, blame the person who greenlit the C-lister. If you wanted Suicide Squad not to lose money, and don't blame the pandemic because other movies were released and they made their percentage, then blame the person who greenlit the C-lister. Don't blame the film or the filmmaker. Some guy sat in the office and said, some obscure character that the general audience doesn't know, let's go ahead and go with that as our pivot point. So I can't blame the movies that got made. I blame the people who greenlit. You shouldn't be greenlighting D-listers when you haven't had your A-listers on the screen for 5 years.
That's the thing. It's like the previous regime, which is they just were going like, that sounds like a good idea.
They waited too long to form a plan. That's the issue. Yeah. They actually were starting to get things together for Flash, to where Hamada was like, okay, guys, Flash is going to be where things start to come into focus, and then we develop like a team-up plan. And it's like you waited too long.
Seriously.
Too long.
How do you tell me that you're not the guy for the job without actually saying out loud? Hamada, for all his acumen for where he's actually suited for, this was a perfect situation of the wrong person for the wrong job.
Exactly. And Will, what you just said just now, what he was good at was low budget horror films. Low budget. And Superman is not low budget. Batman is not low budget. Wonder Woman is not low budget.
Unless you want to get fired. Then
exactly.
Go put a pick and save Superman out there. The only thing you can really cut money on in Superman is if you get a no-name actor who doesn't have the leverage to demand money, and even that's not going to last.
Which is what's going to happen probably.
So you'll get that out of one movie.
Yeah. And exactly, because look, I understand why Zaslav and the others, why they felt they needed to reboot because of all the debt. I get it, but like you said, Will, you want to have goodwill with the audience. You have to tie up the loose ends of what we have.
By the way, reboot is a synonym for stupidity. I've said that the last 3 years. If you want to look up in the dictionary, Google stupidity. Reboot is one of the words that comes up.
Is it really?
Trust me.
Tell that to Pierre Safran, who was addicted to the term ever since Shazam.
Well, I can tell it to Jeff Johns, who's pretty much one of the sole reasons why DC was for a long time a quarter bin direct from your UPS box to the quarter bin, unless it was Batman, is because of reboots.
Yeah.
Most reboots fail. People don't like to, like I said, they like to throw out the word because I think it makes them, like they sound smarter. Like, ooh, look, I read the dictionary and I found the new word. I said reboot. Now I seem smarter, even though I don't know what that word means, or I don't know the ramifications or the the consequences. All right. But if you look at it case by case by case, overall, no matter what medium you're talking about, most reboots fail. So automatically, when you say you're going to do that, you're automatically putting yourself in the shithouse and digging yourself up out of that just to see the sky. That's your first step. So this is why I don't think he's doing a full reboot, because these people aren't stupid. Now, if they would have gone with a full-on reboot, then I would have had some questions regardless to what he announced on Tuesday, because I don't think it goes from 40 to maybe 25. 40 is fine. That can come.
The thing to take into consideration about the slate that he had too, almost none of it connects to anything that we're going to see this year.
Preview.
No, it is all.
It is all brand
new
stuff.
We're all kind of assuming like maybe a Booster Gold Blue Beetle team up at one point, but then again, who knows if that's going to happen? It would be cool.
Yeah, this is my.
That's another thing that lowers their odds of success. 2.5 years till we see something new.
Exactly.
That is the nature of the beast. But when you're a damaged credibility company, you need to get through it.
But that's part of it too. Where I'm thinking
it's not going to
like
be 2.5 years. It would be like next year, because Creature Commandos and Waller are probably going to be due out before Superman.
I'm sorry, 2.5 years before we see the things the general audience will connect to.
Yeah, but the thing is, but I do find interesting, even though everyone keeps assuming that Waller and Peacemaker are part of the DCU, Gunn specifically said that the DCU really kicks off with Superman Legacy. So, and he says that Waller comes out beforehand. So I really can't help thinking, what if we're assuming too much? What if Waller is really just Gunn tying up the loose ends of what he did for the DCEU? I'm just thinking.
I think it's partially that, but I think it also set some things up. It's like kind of like the prologue. I would say Creature Commandos and Waller serves like a prologue and kind of like wrapping up some, because it seems like we're not getting Peacemaker season 2 for a little bit because he's focused on other things.
They didn't even announce it. That's what was kind of.
No, they didn't, and I'm not sure if that's because it's going to be later in chapter 1 or if they're just like using Waller to tie some things up. Because if you saw the end of Peacemaker season 1, it set things up for that Amanda Waller character.
Yeah,
so it really leads right into that.
It definitely.
My only thing with this whole thing is that I know they probably can't, but I'm questioning if maybe they needed to take a break. Like, Star Wars took like a couple of years off between movies. I'm wondering if maybe they should have taken 2024 off, like completely, and 2025 off, and started this like 2 years from now or 3 years.
They would be sitting next year to me at the Sci-Fi Center because they would have lost their employment.
You're not. No, I know. I'm guessing like that's why. It's because of the financial situation. They can't.
Yeah, people would have gotten even angrier if there were a couple years of no DC content at all.
Angrier? How could they get angrier? But we got some royalty coming into the chat or coming into the panel right now. A little bit of royalty that's joining in. We got Mr. Enosh joining right now.
Wow.
Hey, I just read the dictionary too. Next to old, it had a picture of William.
We'll get Charlie Brown incarnate.
Wow.
I had a picture. No. See, unlike you, I have all my hair. So no Charlie Brown here. No Charlie Brown here, buddy. That's a thick head of my own hair, sir.
Yeah, well.
How's it going?
How's it going? About the riffraff here, man.
Nice
William, can you just name me some reboots that failed? Please.
New 52 has failed.
No, I'm not talking about comics. I'm talking about movies.
Name me some that have succeeded.
Name me some that have failed.
Oh boy.
You're the one who made the statement. I'm just asking you. I'm not. Hold on. I want to make clear, William. I'm not just challenging you to be a jerk.
No.
You just keep saying that all reboots fail or most reboots. You said 80% of reboots fail. So I just want you to quantify that statement. 75. I don't care. Just quantify the statement.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say this really quick. If New 52 really failed, you wouldn't have had a business.
Are you serious?
No, New 52 failed. New 52 sucked.
No.
New 52
Are we live?
I mean, New 52 had its moments, but they were mostly
but I mean, overall, nobody.
I mean,
cares
if it
about
truly
New 52.
failed, like as a comic business, you would not have books to sell. That's what I mean.
Well, for a while, he didn't have books to. I mean, that was the problem. He had too many books to sell because nobody was buying New 52. That was the problem.
I'm just
curious.
You're messing with me, Phil, because I know there's a sense of humor there.
I just don't want to divert from my actual question to William. How many movie reboots have failed? Which ones?
Hey, I got one that failed. I can tell you right off the bat.
Okay.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, you're talking about the female version. Yeah.
There's one that I know of. There's one that I know of.
Hellboy.
That's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, the new Hellboy.
Yeah, but it didn't fail at first, though. It
didn't fail at first, but
the sequel
kind of
failed.
Like
the sequel failed.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, Dave. Like, speaking for myself, as someone who would like enjoy the Tobey Maguire ones, when they were announcing, we're going to do a completely different Spider-Man, we're going to reboot Spider-Man, I was not interested. And the only reason I have now to like go back and look at, I mean, I love Andrew Garfield and I feel sorry for like what he went through, but I didn't really have much of a motivation to go back and catch up on Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man until No Way Home. And I was like, okay, now.
Yeah, but let's just be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, RJ was there. RJ was there. We did a complete, like, we watched every Spider-Man movie start to finish. And I'll just be honest. I thought because the question was to me afterwards was, well, who's your favorite Spider-Man? And I honestly thought that Tobey Maguire was my favorite Spider-Man. I was already primed and ready to say that. But I'll be honest with you. Even though Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 sucks, and overall, you know, they did him dirty. Andrew Garfield is the best out of all those Spider-Man, and he totally stole the show with No Way Home. That movie was his, hands down. And it just goes to show that they just didn't give him anything to work with. It's like a lot of things like that. They just don't give him anything to work with.
Well, and, it's like, when it came to Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's like they were leading up to something. They were trying to do something.
They were trying.
But then they just got nervous and they did that studio thing where they started.
Well, Sony just wants to do that Sinister Six movie so bad.
They're trying again.
They really do.
I know they're trying again too.
Yeah, they just don't care how they get there. Like, they don't care if it makes any sense. They don't care if it serves the characters well. Sony has just got one thing and one thing only on their brains, and that is Sinister Six. They don't even care if the characters in the Sinister Six even make sense and want to be there. If they just want Sinister Six so bad.
I mean, look at the stupid credit scenes for Morbius that had nothing to do with the movie, but screwed it up.
Makes no sense. Let's go after Spider-Man. Who's Spider-Man? Who knows? Let's just go after him. Hey, we just spent a whole movie making Morbius into a good guy, but all of a sudden we're going to team him with the bad guys just for no good reason.
They would have been fine if they would have just had one more villain in Spider-Man No Way Home, because it would have been 3 Spider-Mans versus 6 villains. You would have
technically they did. Because Venom was there, but he wasn't at the actual battle.
Sure, but you get what I'm saying.
But he wasn't a bad guy. That Venom isn't bad.
Basically, No Way Home was 3 Spider-Man versus the Sinister 5. You know,
right.
But was it? Because I love No Way Home, but No Way Home was just basically, hey, let's put all of our villains on the couch and turn them all good again. Right? Let's undo their pain, which made no sense because Sandman was literally a good guy at the end of Spider-Man 3. He had a redemptive arc. He was fine. He was in a good place. And then all of a sudden you throw him in No Way Home. It's like, yeah, we're just going to make you forget that he was in a good place. And we're just going to turn him bad. And
I didn't like the Sandman part. I didn't like the Sandman part because I felt the same way too. Because the strongest aspect of Spider-Man 3 was the Sandman part.
Yeah.
And I will say, remember though, in No Way Home, though, they took out those villains before some kind of pivotal moment. Before either their death or some kind of emotional thing for them.
Yeah. Although, like, in No Way Home, like, Sandman turns out that Sandman was good all along and he's just playing the other villains. I was like, yeah, we should not. And you think we were surprised by this?
Yeah, and we all just went,
yeah.
I know. How do we get on all this Spider-Man?
I don't know, but I will just say this. My opinion about this reboot, or this, new universe. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what they do.
Enosh? What stood out for you?
I mean, what stands out for me, I think it's really interesting. I mean, look, I don't want to crap on it because they are going to tell stories that I want to see. I love the idea of seeing a Bat family. I love the idea of seeing live action Batman with Damian. I think it's dumb to call it Brave and the Bold.
That's fair.
I don't think it's gonna stick.
I don't think
I like the title. I like that title.
But
I think it's going to be
of course
Batman,
you do, RJ, because
Brave
you
and the
just
Bold.
like it in title only. I like the title. Nobody's saying that they don't like the title, but the title doesn't make any sense if you're going to tell a Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne story.
Yeah, I mean,
that title, like, you can't just like throw random, like, oh well, it was part of Batman, so we'll just throw that into the mix. Like,
well, typically Brave and the Bold has always been associated with like crossovers and combinations. So maybe there's more going on in the movie than we realize.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just saying a Bat family. I guess that's my point too. Is that I kind of have a hard time with the fact that we're not earning that. Because as much as I'd love to see the Bat family, and I'm all for seeing, those characters, come into their own and get their own story. So how old is Batman?
He's got 30s, early 40s.
He's got to be
mid-30s, I would say.
He literally has to be. You have to say that, but this Batman started off at like 20. Okay.
25.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is like, but he's going to have to be 35 to 40.
Here's the thing. I think like whoever they cast for this, they need. I mean, obviously, it could be Batman, can be whatever, but of course, he's gonna probably have some young features. And what I'd actually like to see throughout, obviously, we only know about this first half of Chapter 1. What I'm curious to see, and I hope, and I like this idea, just especially being a Batman fan, because there's so much in the universe, is the fact that you already have it right here, where there's a Damian Robin. Okay, cool.
Right.
So that means we have 3 other Robins prior to that, and I'm like, okay, so maybe there'll be stories, and then there'll be times where you flash back. Just do a just flashback.
I'm cool with that.
Actually, that's what I was gonna mention. If they call up Chris McKay and be like, "Hey, you want to do a Nightwing movie?" I guarantee you, if they make that, there would be like flashbacks showing what his Robin was like and how he interacted with Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I want to see Bruce in the Bat family, like now and before, like when he was creating these.
I'm all for it. The only problem that I have is, and I said this this last week, hopefully, maybe, just maybe, they're telling a nonlinear story. That is a story throughout time. If you have a young Superman, that maybe you're telling Superman's story from when Superman was young, but yet by the time you get to the Batman story, you're telling an older Batman story, which I'm fine for. I'm fine for nonlinear storytelling.
Like Watchmen?
I'm fine for telling, stories that don't begin at everybody's beginning, whatever. My thing is that maybe I've become cynical. Maybe I am Ben Affleck's Batman by the time you get to, BVS, because I'm sorry, but I already see it now. There's going to be all these people who are singing the freaking praises of this new DC just because they don't like Zack Snyder. Let's be honest. And that's the problem is that all the things that they bitched about and complained about because, Batman's too old and we didn't get to see his adventures for the first 20 years. Well, guess what? You're not going to get to see his adventures for the first 20 years in this movie either.
I love it.
Okay.
But I will say,
so there you go. Sorry. You're just not going to get to see it. You're just not going to get to see it. And, and so.
What are you talking about? It's going to show up on Netflix. Sorry. Go ahead.
But dear God.
I will say this.
Which Dave, you know what? I'm not entirely against, but I'm not going to campaign for the thing either, because I think that it doesn't make any sense. That why would they create their own competition just for all the people who say, well, if you just let us have it on Netflix, we'll be fine and we'll go away and we'll be very peaceful and quiet and good upstanding citizens because we'll just be so thankful. Bullshit. No, you won't. No,
but
you
also
won't.
No,
because I've already seen those same people, post and complain about in the same breath saying it'd be really simple. They could just let us have it on Netflix, and we'll be so thankful. And then James Gunn can go make his woke piece of crap garbage, series that he wants to make. So so the thing is I would just argue
because of that crowd though. Do we stop doing things because we know that element's always going to be out there? They're always going to be out there no matter what.
No, but I saw somebody. Well, I was watching. I was watching the John Campea show, and they were talking about like, well, like what happens if this Superman movie doesn't make $1 billion, and then they start second guessing it. The Superman movie's not going to make $1 billion. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Make profit. That's it. Profit. That's it. That's all.
Right. But that's the problem. Is is that they act like it's got to make $1 billion for it to be able to be quantifiably good. And I'm sorry, but the fandom is so split that people are going to nitpick the heck out of the Superman movie. And you know, and I'm fine with having different versions of Superman. I like different versions of Superman. RJ and I got into it today on Twitter about some things, but I don't think that he was really understanding my point. Is that I'm all for different versions. I have watched every episode of Superman and Lois. Okay? Yeah. Every episode. And there have been some good episodes, and there have been some absolute crap episodes. Shit, yeah. You know, like just dog crap episodes of that show. and my point about the whole scene from the very first episode where he saves the car is that unfortunately we're programming people that about Superman even when we don't even realize it. You know, and the thing is like when you have an Action Comics #1 that sets the tone for Superman, you know, wrecking a car of the villains, and then now every time you see it in pop culture done, it's him saving a car.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Are you guys going to argue?
No, I'm not arguing.
No.
I'm not saying.
No, I was going to go to like, go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
Oh no. I'm not saying that to argue. I'm saying that my point is that it's very unfortunate when the writers don't want to actually pull from the history of a character and they want to pussyfoot around it. Yeah. And it's going to be really disappointing to me as a huge Superman fan if we go back to Superman saving little cats in trees and not having Superman be a leader and be Superman. The reason why Superman is #2 to Batman is because people look at Batman as a leader and people will say, well, that's not in Superman's nature. Superman's not that badass and stuff. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. That's the problem. And people always are coming at me going, well, people don't have to read the comics to be a fan. I get that. But the problem is the comics is what made Superman a character. What set the tone for Superman being a character. And for the last 40 years, Superman has not been this wuss that just like backs down. He takes action when needed. Yes. But he steps up to the plate and he's a true leader. He's not just the Blue Boy Scout. He can be the big Blue Boy Scout and have the values, and I want him to have all that stuff. But I'm a little concerned about who this Superman's going to be. To be honest,
because people are stuck on nostalgia. They have him like picking up the car because Action Comics #1, but he's got to save it because they have the nostalgia of him being a Boy Scout. They have the nostalgia of the trunks and all that BS.
Well, you know what, dude? I'm not even gonna go off on the trunks because look, I think that there are certain ways that you can pick from the past. I'm fine with trunks as long as they look all right and like you can make them work. I'm even fine with trunks.
I thought Dan Jurgens explained it really well to where you can explain it with like a practical reason how they explained how they weren't teasing in the comics. And I
think Dan has a really good handle on. Because he wrote that Superman. He wrote Superman in a modern way where Superman didn't take flack from people and wasn't just a pushover, yet he was still considered the big Blue Boy Scout because he had an honor and a moral code to him, but he also had to learn it along the way. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Dan Jurgens, comic-wise, Dan Jurgens Superman is my Superman guy, if you will.
Absolutely.
And honestly, you look at Zach's take on Superman in Justice League and all that, it is so Dan Jurgens. Like, not just Death of Superman, but
Eric.
everything about the characters from the Snyderverse, it is the early 90s characters. It's like Aquaman with long hair and a beard. It's Lois with red hair, and just visually,
I know, which is weird that people like try to say that that it's this other one and it's like Earth 1 or it's this one or it's that one. Which there may be parts that maybe people can relate to that. But I'm going to be dead honest with you. You're absolutely right. I mean, he even pulled the Death of Superman storyline.
Yes.
So I don't understand what people don't see about that. But getting back to these other things. Look, I'm all for. I've seen some people complain about like, well, they're pulling these things that nobody knows about. Well, I think that's good. Because this new DC has to have something that people can't just compare to whatever came before. I think it's good that you have something like the Authority, because then people can look at that for just what it is. It's like the whole thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. You had nothing to compare it to.
Buy the comic while you're at it, folks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, send me a copy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Some
Real
extras.
quick. Okay, I go real quick. Hey, Enos, with the question you asked me about the reboots, that actually is big enough. The failure rate is high enough. No shit. We should do a subject on that next time you do the lounge again, because I got the data to bring it up. That would
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
we'll plan the show. We'll plan the show. Sounds good to me. Tomorrow
Phil,
night.
you said something earlier on about the new 52 being why I have a store. Unfortunately, no, it's not. Now, when the new 52 and all that came out, it had a huge spike. Huge spike, but it didn't last very long. And if you look at a lot of the books that are around right now, the problem with New 52 is not onto itself. It's the way DC has done reboots since 1986. I call the original sin was Crisis. Regardless to what you may think about the quality of Crisis, George Perez, rest in peace, what it did is it answered a question nobody wanted answered, consolidated things no one wanted consolidated, and then literally 4 to 6 years later, they immediately started undoing it. Elseworlds exists explicitly to undo the single continuity that Crisis was supposed to create. Remember with Crisis, the goal of Crisis, and then we had Zero Hour. And then it just became, and when you have a linear fan, and that's what the base of what comic book fans were for a long time, it was a generational thing. You handed it down. You handed down that continuity to the next generation. What they did and have done over the past 36 years is disrupted all their continuity. And another thing, editorial-wise, it was dumb, is because they usually had a small group of people in an office, or one person in the case of these last ones, that made decisions while the rest of the creative staff for an entire company pretty much had to go along with something that didn't line up with their character. And those books either ended up decreasing in quality or they got canceled. Now, if you look at Watchmen, the last Watchmen series, I swear, if Jeff Johns would have been left on his own, he would have done another reboot using Dr. Manhattan. And that would have been the third one in the last 10 years. At some point, the continuity to these collectibilities has to matter. And DC has mastered the art of the failed reboot. So it's a problem. I understand what you're saying. The spike was there, but it was not sustained. It was like the 90s where we had a lot of you can name a lot of really cool storylines in the 90s. I can name, X-Men 25 where Wolverine gets his adamantium pulled out, Death of Superman. Those things got spikes, but they weren't sustainable. And then that's what ended up in the comic book industry towards the end of the 90s. Not everybody looks at it now. It's great. We got these movies, but no, Marvel was nearly bankrupt. Marvel was nearly bankrupt. DC was afloat because they were owned by Time Warner and AOL at the time. And then a lot of the indies, remember a lot of those indies, Valiant, all those guys shut down or cut their thing in half. But in the new 52, it's like steroids. It's like cocaine. It feels good when you get it in your veins, but over time,
chasing that high. You keep chasing that high, that first high that you get.
And that's what they do with reboots. That's why it's lazy, it's unimaginative in most cases. And all you got to do is go back to the original sin in 1986 to learn why you don't do these things.
And nowadays, even building on that, like even after Reborn. Look, and it's great to bring you a bunch of the post-crisis stuff back. But nowadays, the comics are just addicted to event after event after event, precisely because of the whole spike thing. An event brings a spike, but it's unsustainable.
Yeah, it's unsustainable. And it doesn't. What it does is the companies start to try to meet a spike demand, and saturation comes through. So even if you like that storyline, I didn't have too much of a problem with Death of Superman, but as somebody, I get every other week I get somebody coming in with that same book because there's so many of them out there. The print run is so high. What keeps comic book stores open in some cases is variants. Those variants is what can keep you, like that Superman #1. That's for some reason is $100 comic book right now. It's not, but here's a variant of it, and that's what helps you Supergirl #1. That's what helps you, the collectability, because everything else is so saturated.
Yeah, because anytime like when the Batman came out, or even when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, I went in and got those variant covers that they had because they're collectibles. It's like was I full on buying comic books every week? No, but I was like, I wanted to get those books because of the variant covers. Those are always smart.
And it's my job, once you get in the door, for you not to just walk out with that variant cover. If you're in my doors, if you're in my building, I'm going to do my best to and that traffic is important. Like what James Gunn did, no matter if this slate fails, like I said, 40%, and I think that can rise. I do think he will succeed, but 40% is where we're standing right now. Him making that connection to those narratives, those specific stories, helps out. It can't hurt.
No.
Regardless of how good these movies, getting a brand new fan in front of the paper medium, when they know these characters already, nothing bad can come from that. So
people like, I just picked up Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I've seen people post that they're buying these books now, and I'm even going to be doing it myself, like the ones that I haven't read. Yeah, I'm not going to.
I'm glad they're doing reprints there. He's already talked to Jim Lee about doing some reprints, making sure they publish more copies. But I wanted to mention about the
reprints too. Variant reprints. He's not just doing straight up reprints. They're going to do variants of their collectibles immediately upon arrival, which is another thing that's been lost in the game, is the collectability of it because of saturation.
Yeah, I just want to mention about because I think the whole Superman legacy thing is like a really interesting thing. So just to kind of like just roll with me for a second, I think like one of the biggest things that DC is going to have an issue with is that it's such a generational property. And what I mean by that is that it means so many different things to different people, so, and the character of Superman especially, I think, suffers from that because who he is varies from person to person. It just depends on what you grew up with and what you liked. There are some people who are like really diehard Christopher Reeves fan and really like that version of the character. There are some people. Sorry, Christopher
Reeve.
Remember George Reeves?
Yes, my apologies.
Reeve took the S off and put it on his chest.
Yes, thank you. There are some people who are really hardcore Christopher Reeve fans, and they really are dedicated to that version. There are some people like myself who grew up mostly with the Bruce Timm Paul Dini animated series, and that's kind of my definitive Superman, is how he was portrayed in that show. There are some people who are growing up now who are really into Henry Cavill, and I think the biggest issue is that no one really knows how to define Superman as a character. So it's up to James Gunn, because let's be frank here, okay? When it comes to Superman Legacy, he has to wallow through all of this and say and tell the world with this film, this is who Superman is, this is who he's going to be, and this is what we're doing moving forward. Because this film is going to define the character for the next 8 to 10 years in media. So he has to, I'm not sure how it's going to be done, but he has to wallow through all this generational crap. And basically, like, this is what we're doing. This is who he's going to be. Deal with it, And that's a really challenging aspect, because I think, again, it's that, and I don't mean it to be disparaging, but I think there is often a clash between older fans, younger fans, certain fans of certain versions, and certain fans of other versions. And a lot of that has to do with that generational gap. So, I don't know.
I mean, I will say this: we're talking about, what kind of Superman is he going for? I mean, Gunn has certainly teased with all of his showing of All-Star Superman that he really is taking a lot from Grant Morrison. It seems that that's the direction.
Grant Morrison is all over this slate. It's all over this slate from Swamp.
Yeah, exactly.
Alan Moore too. Alan Moore is all over this, and Grant Morrison.
Tom
exactly.
as well. Yeah,
exactly. Zach was taking most from Dan Jurgens and Frank Miller, and Christopher Nolan was taking most from what's his name? Who did who's the guy who did I know his name, but he was the guy who did Nightfall.
Chuck Dixon.
Yeah, Chuck Dixon. Nolan was taking most from Chuck Dixon. Again, Zach was taking most from Dan Jurgens and Frank Miller. So, if he's going to take from somebody, like Grant Morrison, you could take worse.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's just why that super. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Phil.
I don't have anything bad to say about Grant Morrison. I think Grant Morrison's honestly like one of the most brilliant writers of the past couple years. Like he's written some of the most amazing books that I've ever read. The Batman run that James Gunn is often referred to in regards to where he's using for Batman and Robin, the Damian Wayne stuff, like the Batman and Son, the Black Glove, the R.I.P., Batman and Robin Reborn, with Dick as Batman, and then later bringing him back from post Final Crisis Bruce Wayne, The Road Home, like all that.
I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping that we were gonna get Dick Bat. I was like, when I was hearing some of the details, I was like, "Are we getting?"
I'm
Dick
wondering
Bat?
if that might be.
The picture is
it'd be hard to do.
Yeah.
The picture is
what?
Yeah.
The picture's Dick Grayson.
Yeah,
True.
that would be a twist.
Every time they show the picture, it's never
That's
been
Dick
Bruce.
Bat.
It's like always Dick Grayson.
Right.
That would
But
be-
James Gunn clarified and said that it was going to be Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, that would just imagine the big twist of like how it would blow everybody's minds that, hey, the Batman in Gunn's DCU is not Bruce Wayne, it's Dick Grayson. And everyone go, what?
According to Matt, Superman's a war criminal. Am I reading that right?
Oh, he's been on that.
Ooh.
Technically,
this is the
that's
first
how-
I'm hearing of this. I do not know the argument.
The
for
Geneva
this.
Conventions doesn't work that way. You have to be a lawful representative of the United States or its military to commit a war crime on that behalf and to violate the Geneva Convention. Otherwise, you're just a standard criminal.
Yeah.
You're just going to jail.
I was going to mention too with the whole authority thing, because everyone here is familiar with Superman versus the Elite, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if like they're swapping out, like they want to do a take on that story, but it's just going to be swap out the Elite for the Authority.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and as for Truth, Justice, the American Way, okay. The guy who brought that back was Zack Snyder, because remember the whole "I grew up in Kansas, General. I'm about as American as it gets." Well, that line was pretty much after Superman Returns had Truth, Justice, and all that stuff.
I just watched Super Sons today. He literally says it in that movie.
Yeah.
Why was there a problem with that? Why was there? I never understood the problem with that.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
look at what Jarbo says in the chat right now about
because
Jingo.
because America's worst and we're all racist.
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
Well, I
I know.
think also too, this is just my personal take. I feel like personally, when they're looking at trying to promote these characters because they're part of a global brand, maybe they're thinking to themselves, it'll sell better if we change this line to make it to where he's a character that anyone can relate to and be on board with, not just Americans. I don't know. There's marketing lingo like that where they think.
Yeah, but it is interesting how they brought back that idea of him, being Truth, Justice, and the American Way. I mean, that was in the article.
They love the American way in a lot of situations. I mean, there's places that are not America that look on the American way favorably.
Yeah.
Well, and look, as a Superman fan, I've never looked at the American way as being American politics and the way that we do stuff or whatever. To me, as a Superman fan, I've always looked at that. If you look at within the context, truth, justice, and the American way, meaning people from all over the world, whether you like it or not, people from all over the world are trying to come to America.
Exactly.
They're trying to come to the United States of America because there is the promise of a better life. There is the promise of being able to better yourselves and raise up your family and do all those things because of the country. It's not a perfect country. It never has been. It's got a horrible past. So do most places that are around.
Point of that
it's good enough.
Yeah, but the point is we're here. We're here now, and what are we going to do with it going forward? And that's the thing is, I think that for Superman, it's always been that idea of being able to better yourself, of being able to be something great, of him even trying to figure out who he is, and being, the American way is part of that by bringing everybody in.
Well, Siegel and Schuster were Jewish immigrants, and
Right.
Superman was really an allegory for the whole fact that he was the ideal American citizen that they were striving to be. Right, he was he represented the hopes and dreams of their immigrant experience. That's the whole point. And I always would think it'd be really fascinating because they're talking about this whole Clark Kent. It's gonna be like him working to Daily Planet, really lean and they're talking about it's gonna explore his heritage, really lean into the fact that he's an immigrant and he doesn't really he's from two worlds. Because my thought process is I think with this movie when it's called Legacy, we were talking about this a little bit at the start. I think it might be modeled more after Man of Tomorrow, where he doesn't really know much or anything about his Kryptonian heritage, and he kind of discovers it as these villains are coming in from space. He's like, "Oh, you're Kryptonian? I have no clue what that is," And that could be a different way of approaching it. Or it's like him kind of learning as we go along, sort of.
Well, that's kind of cool, because we've never seen that before.
But again, you could do it in a different way. You can do it in a different way.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? What was that? No, Dave, me joke?
What?
Come on.
Sensible sarcasm there. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm telling you, Lobo's going to be in that movie. 100%.
Lobo. Yeah, I know. That's going to eventually happen. No. Lobo is in chapter 3, I think, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But see, that's an interesting thing. It's like one of the things we talked about last night on the Vodka stream was the fact that so we got the 4 movies that are coming out this year. And when you watch that video of James Gunn talking about all this and how enthusiastic he is, and we heard his quote about, he talks about Shazam. He says like Shazam's very much in his own like little pocket of the universe and blah, 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 blah. It sounds like that's going to be where it is. But then again, it's like, well, if that doesn't do gangbusters, we're probably not going to see another Shazam movie, or, who knows when we'll see another Shazam for a while. Right. If that doesn't do gangbusters at the box office, which a lot of us are kind of going, yeah, probably won't. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to do Shazam money, which is not gangbusters.
Yeah, it's not gangbusters. And then of course he praised The Flash as one of the greatest comic book movies ever made.
Wow.
Oh, okay. That kind of, hearing the
question is though, is he going to connect with the audiences?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That is the thing, is like general audiences are going to really determine that. I think they're going to hit it hard with the whole Michael Keaton returning thing for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I'm curious to see, like, we're going to get a sense of what they're aiming at when we see this trailer next weekend.
And supposedly it's a long trailer too, like 2 minutes or something.
2 minutes and 25 seconds.
4 million, it better be.
That's a lot. That's a pretty meaty trailer.
Well, I mean, but the thing is like they're going to show 30 seconds during the Super Bowl, and then they're going to be like, watch the full trailer online. That's what they do now. So, we're not going to see the full 2 minutes and 25 on Super Bowl, because it's so much money to pay for like a 30-second.
I mean, Budweiser can do a full commercial on Super Bowl, but not DC.
Yeah, but that's only like a minute. If you're talking about full, it's like a minute. So it's still not gonna. That's what they do now. I mean, they did that with during even the playoffs, or like watch the full trailer online. They show a little bit of it, and then they want to direct you to YouTube, because then they can make more money there too. It's pretty, it just makes sense. But and then of course he talked about Blue Beetle and gave some details of that, and then he just kind of brushed past Aquaman 2. He just it
was like, and Aquaman 2. All right, next thing.
And then he goes,
and Aquaman 2 leads into it as well. What we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm still leaning on my prediction. I think they're going to push Blue Beetle to 2024 and make that like the first movie of the DCU.
They might.
I don't see it coming out this year.
Because they don't have much coming out in 2024. That's the thing.
True.
They have 4 movies coming out this year. So it's like, I think, either Blue Beetle or Aquaman's going to get bumped.
But Aquaman's already been bumped so many times, though.
Oh, my God.
What happened, Enosh? Are you okay?
No, the Aquaman thing. Please don't bump it to 2024, for God's sake.
No.
It was already supposed to be out. It's had 3, 4 different, 5, 6 different Batman in it already.
Okay. Okay, let's just Blue Beetle. I'm sorry.
Dave, I can't take it anymore, man. I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. I think Blue Beetle makes more sense to delay, because we've seen nothing of that movie.
But what's going to be happening in Aquaman and Lost Kingdom? Because we heard that Michael Keaton was going to be the Bruce Wayne in it, and then all of a sudden we get Ben Affleck, and it's like,
I know.
What's going to be happening?
Dude, that's why I've been saying they should have had Aquaman come out before Flash, and have Flash be the last movie like released in the timeline. But now it's going to be all weird. So
the Hamada regime and the Emmerich regime, they had no fucking idea what the hell that they were trying to do. That's how Batgirl got screwed. I mean, I think that's the main reason. Because
Greenlit was the first.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, greenlit. But the fact that it was supposed to fit in this little window, and then when everything got rearranged, they're like, well, this is not going to make sense now, because if it's not going to fit in like the window, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So that was like a fuck up, of course, of the whole process.
Regime, yeah. Well, it's because James was right. At one point they were just loaning out IP to everywhere and not caring about how it fit in and you know, and just throwing everything against the wall. And I'm sorry, once you start making something for HBO, you know, you can't just throw money at it and raise it up to a theatrical, you know, level.
Except for Blue Beetle, because apparently that was good enough to be moved up, which that makes me question. Okay, like that's interesting because that's kind of an interesting one because that was supposed to be HBO Max exclusive. And like, no, this is good enough. Let's move it up to theatrical.
Yeah, but you know, but the movie wasn't done. I mean, the movie they had not. By the time they moved it to theatrical, though, man, it wasn't that before it even started filming.
I don't remember. I don't honestly.
I believe it was before it even started.
Yeah, it was in pre-production. It was in pre-production when he took over, I believe.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, it was. So I think there's a huge difference there between trying to retrofix something, you know, like Batgirl, and try to redo the story to make it fit, and then redo the quality of how you filmed it and all that stuff. And then also going, okay, this movie we're going to put on HBO Max. You know what? No, we're going to put it in here, and then being able to plan for that and make that happen from the start. I think it's a huge difference. I think there's a huge difference to that. Now, you know, look, I mean, I think that they've got a strong set, right? Going forward. The Waller thing is interesting. The question is, Waller is fun. She's awesome. Viola Davis is amazing, okay? She's fantastic in that role. But can Amanda Waller carry an entire thing?
Wow.
It's usually about what team she put together and what those people are doing. What are we going to watch Amanda Waller do?
Joined by Team Peacemaker, though, and it's going to connect to Creature Commando. So I think Waller is more of the central hub show for everything.
Isn't there like I remember I read something on Twitter today. I wasn't sure exactly. I didn't like dig deep into it, but wasn't there like aren't they going to be like maybe referencing a run where Batman actually helps her put like
so they just on the DC Comics Universe app or whatever that's called, and service they have, what it was. They have like a section on there called DCU Chapter 1, and it's all the comics that they're saying have inspired it, and it is that it's like some Auslander comic about Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad versus Batman. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of wondering, like, you know, especially when James Gunn is pushing the whole thing of like, okay, you know, we cast somebody, they're gonna be this all around. Where it's gonna be TV show, it's gonna be animation, it's gonna be video game, everything that's tied together. It's gonna be the same guy. So like, I mean, how do you make an Amanda Waller series a little bit, you know, you give a little bit of like, you put Batman in there. Now, he doesn't have to be like you know, the main character, but he, you know,
it can literally just be the debut of Bruce Wayne in that universe.
It could be
something.
Very well could be. Yeah.
Introduction to Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Although
the fact that they can go through the list of all these villains that are already out there and stuff like that. And that's what I like is like, okay, we're not starting fresh. We don't have to have origin stories or anything like that. There's like everything's already pretty established, even though, you know, when it came to Batfleck, it was like, everybody's already there. Yeah. But Zach was trying to tell one specific story. He wasn't, you know, having stupid lines like exploding penguins, like they
So here's the thing. Let me just put that because I know SK is in there talking about, you know, these movies don't matter this year. I think they do matter. I don't think that everything has to like, you know, have some, you know, kind of crazy connection or whatever.
James Gunn told you they mattered in the video. He's like,
he did, and he did tell you that they matter, that they do connect. That I think that they're going to try to go for some kind of, you know, seamless, you know, thing. Now, whether it's seamless or whether or not it shows up as like a big cover up, we'll have to see. But look, I love Shazam 1.
Same.
I think people, what I'm kind of getting tired of right now, honestly, is the fact that everybody acts like they're a freaking expert on everything and nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is that's just the world that we've created right now on YouTube, on blogs, on Twitter, on everything. Everybody just starts blabbering all this information like it's relevant and they know something, and everything is we hate this and we hate that, and now people start blurring the lines between actors and everything. We're taking everything personal. I mean, everybody who's been around here for the Snyder Cut movement, for God's sake, you know, like I literally had a conversation, Dave. And it blew my mind. But I had this conversation with somebody on Instagram last week, and they just came to me and they said, "I'm done. I'm done. This is horrible. I don't want to, and I'm thinking it's the regular, stuff like that, Dave, that we see all the time, right? Like, I'm done with this, because I want Snyder's version stuff. It wasn't even that, Dave. This guy was just done, and he says, I don't care about it anymore. He says, I don't care about the Snyder Cut. I see now that fighting for the Snyder Cut was absolutely stupid and in vain, and we should have never done it. And he's like, it made no point. He's like, what did we get? We got nothing. And I said, well, wait a second. We got the Snyder Cut. And he's like, yeah, but all we got was an introduction to go nowhere. I said, look, we were never promised anything past that. I was like, we were very, very fortunate to get the Snyder Cut. I'm like, all of the hype that's after, I understand, because I want more too, but we were never promised that. Nobody ever sat down and told us, hey guys, we're going to give you the Snyder Cut and then we're going to give you the rest of the story. So I said, he said, you got to kind of back off there. No, this was pointless. This was absolutely ridiculous. We should have never even fought for it. We should have just left it alone because it went nowhere. And I never want to watch a DC movie again. I never want to watch anything to do with DC again. I'm going to throw out like all my stuff, even the Snyder Cut stuff. And I'm like, whoa. I said, hold on. Okay.
It's 9.5 hours of fucking great stuff.
I'm like, wait a second. I said, because then the guy started crapping on AFSP even.
Whoa.
Okay. And said it was all pointless. Who cares about all the money we raised if we don't get any more movies? And I said, whoa, you need to roll that back. I said, because listen, the Snyder Cut movement was not just about so we could get a cool thing that we wanted. Right? That was a result of it, but the reality was that the people who were really in it for the right reasons and really trying to do something good were people who they wanted to see Zack Snyder's story told, not for their own personal, like, oh, well, it had something to do with me. It's for me. It was for him. Because we knew what had happened to him, because we knew his story. How many times are we out here? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's still happening to other people. I go out and get my hair cut, and people ask me questions about something because they see me wearing a DC thing or something like that, and I end up in a conversation with them, telling them the story about it. And they're like, really? That's what happened with Justice League? I always wondered why that movie sucked. And it's like, yeah, and then people will be like, well, I heard that there's like a Zack Snyder's cut on HBO or whatever, but I haven't watched it yet because it's like 4 hours long. And when I explain it to them, and stuff, they get excited then, and they're like, oh, well, I can watch it in segments. Okay, I'm actually gonna try that tonight. And I've had many people come back to me and thank me for that. But I said that was the first reason why I said, and then we came together as a fandom and raised $1 million for AFSP. I said, and look, that's more important than anything to do with the movie. Even Zach said that even if the movie never saw the light of day, that it was about helping people, and it was in memory of his daughter who had tragically passed. And that money, I told this person, I said, I don't even know what to tell you. That money has gone to help real lives. People who are struggling in real life, and because of the money raised, it helps support having a place where people can call, people can contact, have somebody walk them through that. And I said, look, I would gladly trade all the Snyder stuff for being able to save people's lives in real life, because that's more important than superhero movies.
Thank you. I mean, we want to
talk about... And this person's just like, well, then we just disagree because I think it's all stupid. What? And I'm just like,
well, tell me you missed
the that Superman group.
That's what I told him, RJ. I said, you just told me right there that you never understood the point of what the Snyder Cut movement was even about. Correct me if I'm
wrong, but didn't Zach tweet out like a month or two ago that his legacy is like what the fans did for AFSP? It was like some kind of tweet about the Snyder Cut or something.
Well, he said that from the very beginning. He said that from the very beginning, RJ.
Yeah, he's always expressed that. He's always expressed AFSP was like the number one thing, That's why we
saved lives. We raised money to save lives. We kept people from dying. And you want to talk about Superman? Were we not following Superman's legacy, if you will, by raising this money to help people stay alive?
That's the thing. That's why I roll my eyes whenever I hear somebody go, like somebody today was like, you sound like a Snyder bro because I said something or whatever, and I was just like, whatever, man. Like, I'm so sick of this, like Snyder people versus Gunn, all this stuff, like, that you can't just enjoy stuff. I mean, what world do we live in? What world do we live in that I can't talk about being a DC fan? I can't express my excitement that, like, I was around in 89, man. I don't just read about 89 Batman, right? I was part of Batmania that year, man. Like, I've waited until this last year to finally have a Batwing. And you know how much I wanted a Batwing when I was a kid?
Dude,
you know how much I wanted a freaking Batwing when I was a kid? I
had the Micro Machine version. Did you have that one?
Yes, the Micro Machine.
Oh, that thing was sharp as shit. That thing could cut you. That thing could.
Dave, one of the things that I'm actually most excited about the Flash movie coming out, because the action figures look like crap, kind of. But they're making a 1989 Batman that fits 3 3/4 figures, and I've got Michael Keaton 3 3/4 figures that'll fit in that. So even if that Batman figure looks like absolute garbage, I will have one that finally has a sliding top, because they made like the 5-inch figures before, but it had an open top on that Batmobile that I got in the other room. So you just put them in the top and stuff, and it didn't have any sliding, thing to slide. And now I'm excited about it. But
I had the car where you can actually like do that little flip where he turns into Batman in the car.
Yes. They made a Superman one like that too.
I think they tried to do Superman one like that. Yeah. So
but that's the thing, guys. Like I'm a DC fan. Anybody who sees my collection or knows my collection knows, like, I'm not just in this about Snyder or anybody else. And so with looking forward to this, sure, I understand the frustration of people who say, like, I wanted the story completed. So did I. Okay, but there does come a point where you have to not just like sit here and like, what am I going to dwell on the fact that I wanted to see 2 more movies for the rest of my life?
No.
Yeah.
Am I just going to sit there and dwell on that for the rest of my life and let it ruin the rest of my life?
Have you seen the latest poster? There's not just 2 more movies. There's like a whole slate now. I mean, I was noticing that, and thank you, Eric, for tagging me in that hole, because then I had to mute the thing because I was like, Jesus Christ.
I was going to talk about that because, Dave, here's the thing. I was shocked that you didn't say anything about it because look,
I didn't want to.
It was all about, I did the whole poll based on, inspired by what you have been saying about Amazon Prime.
Yeah, but I still don't support the thing. That's the thing. It was like, I would always say that Amazon makes more sense if you're going to do this, but the thing's not going to happen because it doesn't make sense.
But Dave, I said a couple of months ago on the vodka stream, I said, I talked to somebody, like, well, not talked to somebody, but I was seeing like things, because, we've seen all the posts like, well, it's just 1 or 2 more movies. You could even wrap it up with one really good one, right? And let Zach finish it off. And then I saw one guy literally say, look, we're only asking for 6 to 8 more movies, all right? We just need to finish up. Yeah, literally had their, like, and said it with a straight look on his face, man. Like, we're just asking for like 6 to 8 more movies to finish this up, because we need the Batfleck movie. We need another Superman movie.
Basically, like, I always thought that the whole thing was to finish, Justice League, and then all of a sudden I see a poster where they're literally even want to do a redo of Zack Snyder's Justice League 1 and put they call it the Emerald cut because they want
Green Lantern.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, you guys went from like asking for maybe about $400 million to in the billions now. Now we're in the billions. You guys want billions now. So like again, this is not thought out.
No.
So I'm missing some context. So Dave, you got tagged in a post. I heard that you got tagged in something saying that you need to tweet out a hashtag on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Hold on. William, what's going on?
This should be done, whether it be on Netflix, and not for a particular fan base, but for the cohesion of your product.
Yeah.
You are bringing people into this. So these people 2 years from now are going to come into a DC universe, period. All right. And if you're doing business right, you don't just want them to come in and look at one room of your house. You want them to go through the whole mansion, or, you want them to be impressed by everything you have. What you should do is finish this for the cohesion and coherence of the overall product. That is the professional thing to do. It shouldn't be done for any particular fan group. It should be done because you have something there that when you bring somebody in to see Superman Legacy, if they're on your HBO Max or on any of your platforms, it's going to be sitting there. Do you want them coming into a broken up thing, or do you want them to come into something that's complete and it shows that what you are as a company? 2, it's a trust and faith issue coming in. Forget about us Snyder Bros or whatever the hell they want to call us.
Yeah.
It's like I told you before.
I just don't think people care at this point, William. I don't think the regular people care at this point.
People care about consistency, and believe me,
Yes.
the guy that you don't hear screaming on YouTube on these little small screens, that's not that guy you don't need to worry about, because the majority of people are just going to walk away without saying anything. They're going to take a look at your broken thing, and they're not even going to give it a chance, let alone get into one of these conversations that we and you are having. They're not even going to give your product a chance. It's, and then the people.
Do you know how many people though still have not seen Zack Snyder's Justice League to even know that there's a continuation, that there's like a possibility
but a lot
for
of those
any of
people
that?
have seen, they know that Superman hasn't been around 5 years. See, the general audience isn't a dummy. They're not in like us. But
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's why most people are okay with, like, if they do this reboot and put a new Superman in, because they haven't seen Henry Cavill on the big screen. They haven't seen any of these characters continue. They didn't even watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, there's still people who I talk to all the time who are like, wait a second, they redid that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but
it's a business problem. Than it's not even a fan problem. Forget about what the fans. Fuck those guys. Fuck us.
I'm not talking about fans.
Hold on. We're at the bottom of the priority.
Yeah,
fuck you.
The general person, the layman person in their periphery can see when something is screwed up. They can see when something is incomplete, and they just move on to other things. And you really don't want you to create an atmosphere where you're just easy to dismiss. And I think that's what they've done the last 7 or 8 years.
I think they've already done that, though. Haven't they?
But you don't want to continue that trend. I mean, you don't, just because you've done something stupid, you don't want to continue to do the stupid thing. At some point, you got to look and take inventory of what you are.
So let me ask you this. What would you have them do?
I would have had them wrap it up. Here's what I would do. James Gunn, you're going to do your thing. We got 2.5 years. But I find some way. I sit down with the budget guys. I sit down with people. You get 6 episodes. I don't care who the platform is. You get 6 episodes. And that's it. And with the explicit purpose of ending it. I don't care we can't do it because these other people aren't going to be satisfied. Screw them. We're not doing that for them. We're doing it for our overall perception of our product. You get 6 episodes with the explicit purpose of putting an end. And then I sit down with James Gunn. And we're all at the same table. We're ending this, and we're giving your thing a boost. Because right now, you got 40% odds. All right? There are a lot of things that are going to hurt James Gunn's ramp up that have nothing to do with James Gunn. A lot of the stuff we're talking about in general and is going to hurt that. Just the perception of the product hurts James Gunn coming in before he was even hired. So we work with him. So that we do a transition, because we're not just doing this for the fans we have in front of us and that are on YouTube and on Twitter. We're doing it for the potential fan. So when they come into our house, they see like your toy room. They see a whole bunch of cool stuff that makes them want to either steal it or hang around. All right. Right now, there's nothing to hang around with DC, even with this new slate. You got to give them some linear. You got to give your fan, your potential customer, a linear purpose to your product. Without that, you don't have anything. And that's what's killed DC on every single medium they operate on for like the last 10 or 15 years, more so the last 7. So
I have
rule number 1, don't do it for any fandom. Do it for your product first.
Yeah, I'm with Will in the fact that just one little mini series, if you will, on HBO Max or whatever, where just to finish up with the finishing up on the Snyderverse, if you will.
Sure.
Hey, 6 episodes? 6 episodes is perfect for.
Do it animated. Do it animated.
Yeah,
Dave, don't open that can of worms now. Do it animated. Do a comic book.
You gotta do it. Hold on, guys. Phil, you have to take off. I know.
Yeah, I got to bounce. So it was fun catching up, guys.
Good
Everyone
seeing you,
take
Phil.
care.
Yeah,
Much love.
Take it easy, man.
Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Follow him. All right.
Look, we're gonna finish it right now. Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Come
By
on.
the way,
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, who's gonna do it? Is it gonna be Darkseid?
Wow.
Go.
Just amazing.
So amazing.
Anyway, while you're doing
No. But like, I think like now that we have this whole Elseworlds thing, I'm like, okay, so if you're gonna do like maybe animation, they could do that. Enosh, come on, man. Oh no. Darkseid wins.
Wow. Darkseid is. Ray Porter love that.
But going back to the whole thing. So RJ, so what happened was, Eric did a poll that was basically talking about like, you know, the Amazon thing, and that's what got tagged. And I got tagged in 2 different things, and I had to mute them both because you know those people don't like me. Those people don't like me. So you know.
Yeah, I know. If you actually look at the posts and all the arguments that happened in the response, it's so funny how many of them just said their only response was, "Well, screw Dave. He's a clout chaser." Blah blah blah. And my response is just not an argument, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. So that's what happened. So I had to mute all that.
But
and
the thing
is, you know, there were specifically, I mean, and then yes, I got tagged in something where it's like, well, if I post something on, I guess they're doing something on 214, and then I'm looking at the poster, I'm like, you guys added like fucking 7 more movies onto this thing. I already thought it was ridiculous. Now this is even more ridiculous. You have a Superman and Shazam movie?
No. What? Oh gosh.
Now that's
Can we just settle for 2?
That's what I thought it was supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be just the sequels, which
but
would
I think,
like about like if you could probably narrow it down to like $200 million each, maybe 250. So it can't be 500 million. But then you added all these movies. Now you're in the billions of dollars. There's no way. Like I'm trying to think of like why, like the logic of some of this stuff, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
That's why you wouldn't do it for a fandom. You would do it if you do it for business reasons. You would eliminate a lot of that. You do it for the cohesiveness of your product. I don't even care what the format is. Coloring book. The conclusion is the conclusion.
Coloring book. I would put cocktail napkins, sketches on cocktail napkins.
Right now, we're starting to ramp up for Shazam. Right. I'm having a hard time getting people interested in DC in general, and these are not people like me. These are people that in their periphery, in the back of their mind, they just know the one thing that they know about DC is it's unfulfilled, right? And that's a problem. That's a whenever you have that coming in and then you allow for apathy to seep in on your project with the general fan. Like I said, us geeks, we're gonna be there in some case or another.
Always gonna be
the
there.
General fan is that makes up the backbone. The general fan is a direct connection to the stockholders who can shut this down even faster than Zaslav can. So because remember, there's a power structure beyond fandom that can end this on things that have nothing to do with us. Like I was asking you last night, if the stockholders and shareholders and the financiers have these blown up expectations and Superman doesn't reach them and it's a good movie, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. They're going to want dividends. They're going to want.
Hey, we got Doug coming in right here. What's up, buddy? He's wearing that Eagles hat. Look at him. You're ready for it. You're ready for next Sunday.
Yeah. Who's rooting for who?
I'm an Eagles guy, even though I'm from St. Louis. I followed them ever since the Cardinals left. So long time suffering Eagles fan.
Yeah. I gotta say Eagles. I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I'm going Eagles.
You know what? I kind of want Eagles because you know Mahomes has like had how many people? Oh, who'd we lose right now?
RJ.
We lost RJ. Okay. No, but yeah, I kind of want to, I kind of want to see somebody different. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But so I think I might be for the Eagles. I don't know. I don't really have I don't know. I'm just gonna watch and watch the trailers.
Because like my team, the Steelers are out. Dad's team, the Rams are out. So of the two, I would say Eagles.
So Dave, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
What if they try once more to go back to this Donner-esque version of Superman? That they seem to think like I get it. I understand the idea that Christopher Reeve's interpretation of Superman is something that pop culture in general, like the general audience, they all know who that is. Okay. And that's what Superman seems to represent to them. But it's also been a downfall because it has placed an idea of Superman being cheesy and quirky and weird and not serious and not able to actually, deal with them seriously. That was one of the things that Man of Steel was such a breath of fresh air for me because we were talking about Dan Jurgens and Jerry Ordway and all those teams that brought us that stuff through the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff. That's who Superman has been in the comics, but nobody's read those comics. Nobody's understood what a leader Superman is and that Clark Kent's not a doofus who falls over everything and is a dweeb and all those things. But in the popular culture, people honestly think that is the dominant, that is who Superman is. And it's very unfortunate. And they tried to do it with Superman Returns.
Yeah.
They tried to bring that back with Superman Returns and didn't work. Do you see them, Dave, trying to bring that back again?
Like the pure nostalgia and all that.
That's what I'm a little concerned about. That's the only thing that I'm really concerned about this whole thing, because my son and I were talking about it. My son just turned 18, and we were kind of joking about it because I said, they're talking about this 10-year plan and everything. I said, so now we know, this was before we knew this kicked off in 24, right? So that's, a year or 25, I'm sorry. So that's 2 years from now. But that's what I was saying. So if this 10-year plan kicks off, then I'll be 48 when we watch the next Superman movie in 2025. So if it's a 10-year plan to see where this all goes, I'm going to be almost 60. If this thing sucks, right? If
Don't think like that,
right? If this thing sucks, that means that I'm literally going to be into my 60s watching some version of this junk that sucks. And my son looks at me and goes, "That'll mean I'm going to be in my 30s when this, like deal with this stuff, right?" And like when you put it in perspective, like you were talking a large chunk of life that this could suck. I told my son, I said, if this doesn't work out where this is something good, I'm like, I don't see me getting something satisfying out of DC. Yeah, probably in my lifetime.
Yeah, and we talked about the Trunks before, and
he's Dave now. He's Dave now.
You're Dave now, Eric. I wanted to ask Dave. I want to know. I mean, like, do you think that they go back and try that again just out of stubbornness because they know that's? I mean, they keep bringing the theme song back.
I know. Dude. I
love the theme. Don't get me wrong.
So here's my thoughts when it comes to this, because I was thinking that same thing too. This whole 10-year plan, because hey, guess what? James Gunn, he ain't no young buck either. And I was going like, man, he'll be in his 60s, I think, too, by the end of this thing, right? He's in his 50s right now.
He'll be closing in on 70 when this is done.
Oh, because he's like 55
now.
57. He's 57. So I was thinking that same thing, and I'm like, wow. So yeah, when it comes to the whole, it's like, all right. So what he has to come in and do is be like, all right, we have a little nostalgia, but you also have to make Superman make sense in modern day. And you better believe, and I totally believe it. And, somebody told me this, but I mean, I can't confirm it unless I literally were to ask a guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he fucking called Zack Snyder, picked his brain a little bit, called up anybody who has, everybody who's dealt with Superman, and just like pick their brains. And I'm really hoping that he did. Like, he's not just going, this is what I want. No, he's literally reached out and gone, all right. And probably read scripts he probably read JJ's flyby script. He probably read all kinds of discarded Superman scripts. And now he's just trying to figure out what's the fucking formula to have it modern day. And yes, there's a lot of pressure there. It could suck. We could watch and be like, wow, nope. We could absolutely do that. So I don't know. It's just going to be, it is going to be a difficult thing. And I don't think he's going to go full nostalgia, and he's got to be fresh with it. I mean,
I saw somebody say, to your point, Dave, I saw somebody say this week that Superman doesn't have to be relevant. that Superman doesn't need to be relevant to today. That Superman is timeless and classic, and that Superman needs to be, needs to draw from that.
I keep on
that's that Superman group again, huh? I told you to leave that Superman.
I want Brad Bird. I'm thinking Brad Bird, but it's going to be James Gunn. So.
Yeah. I don't like Kenneth Branagh, but yeah.
What, directing it? Directing it?
It's
got to be James Gunn. I don't even see why that's.
Yeah, it's going to be James Gunn.
Well, it has to be.
Remember the fact that Gunn said that he was offered Superman, he turned it down before because he didn't want
running the show. Then he's running the show now.
Yeah, but this is why. This is why he didn't want to do it, and why you can imagine him calling up Zach and calling up the rest, because he's like, I don't want this on my plate with all the pressure over on the one side. There's a bunch of people who want nostalgia, who want, him to be saving Caps, who want the stupid Trunks and yada, yada, yada. Or on the other hand, there are people who want him to be relevant. What do I do here?
You can't take the job if you have that kind of trepidation, though. You either take the job or you don't. He took the job. So, in my opinion, not only did he take the job, he has to be the director of it. This is the most important part of his universe. It's a primary step. It is literally the remote control in which he's going to dictate whatever he has going forth. So even if he doesn't direct any other movie, the Superman movie, it has to be him. It should be him. I don't think there should even be any other option. This is your game.
I mean, Kevin Feige hasn't directed any of the Marvel movies.
Kevin Feige's not James Gunn. And it's not DC is not Marvel. It's a totally
different
thing. And even James Gunn, he was quoted on saying that that he thinks like, the slate that they have now was like it probably is even like, it's more organized and more connected than like say the Phase 1 slate at first again. And I actually believe that because they didn't know what the hell they were doing back then, even though arguably Phase 1 was like, we all like, yeah, that was good shit. Even though maybe because it wasn't so connected. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, when it comes to connectivity of all this, maybe they're not going to be doing this. But Doug, you have not talked about a lot when it comes to this. So what is your 2 cents when it comes to this?
All right. Obviously, the number one disclaimer, I love the Snyderverse. I love the DCU. But that whole thing was dead the moment Tushihara won the bake-off against Robinov. Mm-hmm. It was headed towards disaster then. And so, I mean, I was excited by Cavill coming back, but it's your girlfriend from college has moved on, gotten married, and has 2 kids. Like we need to move on. And that whole realm of DC is gone, and we need to kind of move forward with this. So understanding that and knowing what's coming up, I'm kind of fired up by what's going on because, like Rob Keyes said on Friday, like there is a direction, there is a plan. It seems kind of disjointed, but it's hitting a lot of different sections of the DC universe, which is really cool.
Rob gave me a lot of like a little bit more like hype because just the way, because Rob's really good at explaining things. And he, of course, runs a fucking website. So we got all the details big time. And then just the way that he put it out there, I was like, wow, okay. So I actually like what Rob's saying. So anyways, continue. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you've got a foundation for your Trinity with Brave and Bold, Superman Legacy, and, a Themyscira movie. You've got things into Justice League Dark with Swamp Thing. You've got something out of left field but can play off the boys kind of hype with the Authority. All these projects may not hit, but if they're on $100 million budgets, then they don't have to be huge successes. They can still make a huge profit and do very well. I'm fired up for Lanterns. I really want to see who runs that and who writes it. But when you're throwing out things like Game of Thrones-esque and True Detective-esque, like I'm really fired up. And I like the idea of the first Lanterns movie, one being Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, but also Earth-based before you spread out to the bigger galaxy. There's a lot of room for hope, and probably more hope than we've ever had. Even if it's not, I love Henry Cavill, but I hope James Gunn makes some calls. And one of the things about Superman, I can see them splitting the difference between the Man of Steel tone and the Christopher Reeves tone. You don't have to go as cheesy as Christopher Reeves, and you don't have to go as kind of real world as Man of Steel, but you can kind of split the difference. And I really hope, in talking with Booster Gold, he calls Dan Jurgens and says, I mean, he's my favorite. Awesome. I'm a child of the 90s, so Dan Jurgens is the man. He is my favorite Superman writer, and he's my favorite Superman artist. And a lot of people will disagree with that, but I think he's a master.
They're wrong.
Being able to write that character for so long and so many different things. And you could see it. Like, number one, I'm a Superman guy, so I'm excited for Superman Legacy, even though I would have rather seen Man of Steel 2. But I think we could see some of that stuff from the 90s, like some of these side characters. We could see the Kents back alive. We could see, Lois Lane even more developed. And you could see side characters like Bibbo. Maybe you bring in Steel. Steel is one of my all-time favorite characters. And
what's Shaquille O'Neal doing?
Oh, God.
Not Steel, hopefully.
Yeah,
that movie.
In the comics, I could easily see Jamie Foxx playing him, like how he looked in Dan Jurgens' comics. Like that's my first thought.
Yeah. My always thing is if you're gonna do John Henry Irons, you need someone huge. The guy's 6'7". He's a monster. So, but anyway, so you could see the expanded universe from, a guy like me and maybe James Gunn too, reading the 90s comics, and you get an expanded universe for Superman, whereas it was very condensed in Zack Snyder's, because he had a five issue arc. So I'm excited about Bat Family. They were absolutely right about them being neglected part of Batman movies. Like, I love Batman, I love Dark Batman, but not being able to see Robin done well. Damian Wayne has me fired up, but the ability to do, Hush or Nightfall or Battle for the Cowl or just having Nightwing under the Red Hood, it would be great. Even though my favorite Robin's Tim Drake, he might get left out of that, but
I think he'll be there.
Yeah, I could see all of that. Batgirl done right. So I'm kind of fired up by the possibilities, and who knows? Something like the Authority may really hit and be a popular commodity. But
I hope so.
I think a plan is better than no plan, and we haven't had that in a very, very long time.
We haven't had that at all. I mean, there was even people that were comparing. Obviously, there was a leaked image that somebody took of the little conference thing. And obviously, it was a small room. It was a small screen. And then people were like posting it against like what happened in Comic-Con 2016. And I was just going like, yeah, but you realize that all the shit that they were like, those directors ended up like more than half ended up not doing those movies. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's not a good comparison. It really is not a good comparison.
The funniest thing I heard was that because James Gunn was sitting down, it meant that he was not confident and that this was a failure. That was the funniest thing I heard.
But I admire the. Sorry, and as for the small room that's supposed to Comic-Con, I mean, you do realize Warner Brothers is up to its butt in debt, right? They don't have. It's not like
the money to do.
It's not even the debt thing. It's for a private showcase to the press and to shareholders.
That's the point. That was a typical gathering of people in a room where you do a presentation like that. Anybody who says anything else shows that they're ignorant of how things actually work, of how the real world works, and they're trying to project something onto this nonsense. To say, because James Gunn is sitting down, it says something. Shut up. I'm sorry, but just shut up. To say, well, they don't have any money, that's why they have to do it. Well, where are they supposed to do it? The Taj Mahal?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like does the room have to be gold laden and
they have to save as much money as possible. So of course they're gonna have in a little room on the Warner Brothers lot, so they don't have to rent anything out. And it's like, hey, here's a screen. We're gonna show it, and guess what? We're gonna have placeholders for the title.
I'm just saying money or not. Where else are they supposed to do a meeting? Yeah. Just where they're presenting, this is what we're doing, guys.
You just need a screen.
This isn't Comic-Con. This isn't Comic-Con. No. They're not doing some like crazy over the top pitch or whatever. They already got the job. They're just trying to explain where they're going and what they're doing, and they're talking it out. Like this is not some big elaborate thing over the top like a Comic-Con or like trying to sell it to the public. No, this is literally just offices. If they literally just met in Zaslav's office and projected it on the wall there from their little table, that would be fine too.
Yeah. It's not D23.
Probably big.
But we got Jose finally coming in right here.
Hello, Jose.
Is he working?
Hey guys, what's up?
Whoa.
Your video's choppy, but
I'm watching on the street right now.
Dude, how about that?
This thing crashed on me like 5 times trying to get on here.
Probably
and as soon as I get on here, I hear Enos going, "Shut up!" And I'm like, "I just got here, bro. Why are you telling me to shut up?"
Not you. Not unless you're one of those who were talking about that room. Are you talking about that room? Because if you're talking about that room, you can shut up too.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about it. That was my room, actually. That was my closet. I let them borrow to do the presentation afterwards.
Got a screen in his closet. In the closet. No, but that was funny.
Standing here.
Yeah. When people
James Gunn came into the closet.
Hello from Hollywood.
I'm like, what do you expect? What do you expect for some, this company? It's January, for God's sakes, and it's like, right. Yeah, it was, and then of course the titles. People were like, "What the hell's going on with the titles?" I'm like, "They're literally just the comic book titles."
I know people were getting mad at the Superman logo, being like, "This is atrocious. Why does it look so cheesy?" I'm like, you know, it's from the.
I mean, tell me you don't read comic books without telling me. Jesus Christ.
I don't know if you guys have talked about it,
but you can have when people tell me the comic books aren't important. What is that noise?
What is that noise? Click.
Where are you at right now?
Jose, is that you?
Yes.
I'm at Mardi Gras. Sorry, I'm at Mardi Gras. No, I'm just kidding.
But seriously, we could have
walking down Hollywood Boulevard, so everyone's a little active right now.
People just always tell me, like, anytime I bring up the comics, they're like, "You shouldn't have to read the comics, Enosh. Why are you always talking about the comics? People don't have to read the comics. The comics are why these characters exist.
Whoa!
They're kind of important."
Yeah,
they're kind of important. Not just the stuff that we've seen in television and movies. Those things are great, but that's not where these characters came from, man.
And how about them selling out of books because they named them?
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about. That
they're selling out left and right because he named the comics that are inspiring it. That's great business.
That's very, very smart. Very smart.
By the way, folks, if you're buying those books, wait a little bit. Just wait a couple of. And within you got 2 years for these movies. Do not pay $100 for this. I'm sorry. As much as I want to take that's bad. No, just wait till it'll come down. Don't be
DC Universe Infinite.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they have. Listen, going against them, especially because we have 2.5 years to sit, is the credibility. I think chief among them is credibility.
Yeah,
you have 2.5 years, and I know, Greg, you said move on. It's easy to move on, but moving on doesn't mean something still isn't there. And like I always likened it to running a marathon, right? I get to the finish line, and the guy at the end of what the finish line is supposed to be is not even the same guy that I started with. He tells me that those miles you ran don't mean anything. But by the way, would you be interested in running another marathon? It's like, do I really want to go on this ride with you when the last time I went on this ride, I kind of
I'm gonna kick you out, Jose.
It's kind of tough. So they have 2 years to build that. And two, it's going to be interesting to see how these movies are interlinked, because I know people will say, well, you should just go see them because they're good movies. That's bullshit. All right. That's not how the general public goes to see movies, especially when most of these were sold to you as a connected universe. It would be different. Like Robert Meyer Burnett connected, he said he compared it to The Godfather. I'm like, The Godfather, I mean, the general audience didn't know about Godfather 2 or 3 when they went to go see it. The Godfather was never sold as a shared universe. So if you were selling something as a shared universe up to a certain point, I can't make a good argument for anybody to really be all in for these movies. I mean, The Flash is going to be a spectacle, but you have
I don't know. I still say if it's a good movie, it can stand on its own.
There's a lot of good movies that don't make money because a lot of certain.
That's fine. I'm just saying. I don't think it's a complete waste just because it's not necessarily part of the next.
I'm not saying it is, but you have to do a marketing job to let your general audience, who will think it's a complete waste, you have to sell that to them. And you have a good enough argument other than that, because I agree with you, but that argument that's not going to fly when the guy pulling out his money for the money.
Thank you.
But the biggest thing though is and going back to the whole comic books thing, and I hope they even when these first trailers come out, have the little splash screen at the end or whatever. They'll be like, hey, if you want to brush up on what this is going to be about, here's that, and then have links provided, add to that, and then or even anything that, even if there's an animated movie about it that's associated to it, do the same thing. Like, hey, do that. I don't know. I just think that whole the fact that James Gunn posted what Brave Bold and all that. Yeah, I love the fact that he did that, because I was like, okay, this is something entirely different. Not even Kevin Feige does this shit.
Nobody he does not. No.
What they should do every Wednesday,
new comic book day
on YouTube, him and Jim Lee and everybody that's involved in the creative process for about 15 or 20 minutes should be giving the information every Wednesday, so that's smart. So that it's interconnected, because guess what? We're talking about this movie that's based on this comic book. And guess what? Jim Lee's sitting here. You got, you have an interconnectivity and an excitement about it. And within this 2.5 years, instead of us sitting around, with conspiracy theories about the way things are going to go, we can be hearing it from him and the creative staff and it brings those people that are only the movie people into the comics realm, and vice versa. It would just, every Wednesday for about 15 minutes on YouTube or on their website. That would be great.
It'd be a good time to point out that the two top dogs in DC were both born and raised in St. Louis. Jim Lee and James Gunn. So just got to brag about my city.
Love it. Yeah. By the way,
about the city.
And by the way, I will say this: if they were to do what Will is saying and do it every Wednesday, that would certainly give you a lot of material every weekday.
Exactly.
All of
That's all he cares about. William just wants sales at his store. That's all he wants.
Well, listen, conversation generates commerce. Conversation generates commerce on everything that we're talking about, whether it's YouTube, whether it's comic salesmen, whether it's these movies. If you have and this is the one thing DC has not had the last 5 or 6 years, is a positive conversation. The conversation has been like, oh, what now? Instead of, ooh, what's next? And that's where it needs to be. And I think we can get that. They got to engineer it to make it that way.
Yeah, and I'm really with, and I've really been with you a lot. Like Will, like what you said, Will, about how people, the average Joe, will in fact care about continuity. A lot of people underestimate this. A lot of people are assuming, oh, look, people are smart. They can understand that this is a new version. Well, look, I can't tell you how many times I've talked with someone who's not a comic book movie aficionado like all of us are, who when they know that, oh, wait a minute, so there's a new Batman or whatever, but it's not the Batman in the movie that I saw before. Wow, okay. And it's like, wait, so Ben Affleck's not Batman anymore? Wow, that's dumb. Or because when you tell them about a reboot, especially if you talk about, and I get it. Look, this is why I really do not like the whole idea of selective reboots and selective recasting, because I got news for you. People are just going to go, wait a minute. Does this have anything to do with before? No, I'm confused. They're going to be confused.
There's no way Gunn was going to not keep his characters.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. That'd be a bad conversation to his wife.
That's why it's only, So that's why it's only a soft reboot.
Or leave open up as the possibility of having Jason Momoa's Aquaman again. Because if Aquaman 2 makes a lot of money, Aquaman 3 is getting made. I don't care what any fan says.
Even Saffron said that.
Yeah, fan feelings don't pay electric bills. Money does.
Well, look, but again, this is the issue of the average Joe being confused. If an Aquaman 3 comes in, they're going to assume that it has to do with the previous universe.
Here's the thing about that. Hold on. Here's the thing about that. Confusion is not an excuse. If there is confusion amongst your audience, one of them's a fucking idiot. Either the person presenting the information or the person taking the information. All right. And it's usually neither. All right. Your audience isn't stupid, and neither is the person presenting. So the messenger, that is literally their job to present the story. If your audience is like in the army, if my squad was confused, I took the heat. It's my job if I'm giving the message and the message isn't getting across, then I don't need to be on my job. All right. If you're going to introduce King, the most confusing character in my lifetime of collecting comics, and they can do that and they're going to pull that off, then there's nothing about what DC could ever do that can match the confusion of King. And then they're going to do Secret Wars, another clusterfuck after that, and make that work. Trust me, your messenger is the issue. It's not your audience isn't an idiot. And if you're not an idiot as a presenter, then that is your job. And if you can't do your job, move on and let some other guy take it.
Oh, isn't that what the Flash movie is for?
Confusion is not an excuse.
Isn't that what the Flash movie is for? I'm sure the Flash is going to have something at the end that explains that these characters from the past are over here, and now this is the new universe. I'm pretty sure.
And then they should have other narratives too. Yeah, I mean, it's explainable, is what I'm saying. It's explainable.
It's going to be interesting, but you have to take off because
I'm out to get out because I got to do my show in about 15 minutes on the Poindexter now. I'm part of the Poindexter Patch Lab.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
All right,
not by the way. All right, guys.
I mean,
no, but Jose, the fact that you brought up the Flash is like it's going to be interesting to see. Like, okay, so we were supposed to have cameos. I mean, the Wonder Woman cameo is always going to be there because from what I gathered, it's not an end cameo, but Cavill's cameo most likely removed because it was a end cameo. So I'm kind of wondering, like, so if they cast their new Superman, would they immediately introduce him at the when some fuckery happens with the.
Well, I was going to mention earlier before my internet got all weird, but like, do you guys think that the Flash can offer any sort of closure to anything that's been going on in the DCU, or no?
I think it could do a little bit when it comes to the Snyderverse. Not enough.
Yeah.
But it might like at least keep it into like its own little bubble pocket over here in the multiverse.
So the thing is too that they're in a hard place because they have to wait to see how this movie performs.
Yeah, true.
If this movie performed, they can't just go and be like, "Well, we're gonna fire Ezra and Sasha Kai is no longer Supergirl," because the movie hasn't even come out yet. The movie needs to come out. If the movie's successful, they're gonna want to keep these characters and they're gonna want to continue with this.
Well, that's the thing. Is all these people that I see, like I see like John Campion, others who are out here yelling and screaming that Ezra's gone, Ezra's gone, Ezra's gone. And I just keep asking the question, well, why? if the guy has literally been acquitted of everything that they've been accused of, pretty much, except for the breaking and entering, which is kind of a weird story unto itself, and we've never really gotten all the clarity quite on that, but that's what Ezra admitted to. He's getting help for it. He's they're in rehab. They seem to be doing pretty good with all that stuff. Yeah. And everything else has been dropped or been shown that it wasn't
that serious.
Wasn't a thing, right? If I hear John Campion talking about the grooming thing one more time, whatever, man, all those things have been dropped, and all those things have been proven that they weren't a thing. Yeah. And some of it is because it wasn't even in the United States court system. It was in a completely different vernacular. So this idea of there's no redeeming quality. Ezra can never come back. No, that's
it's all going to come down to money.
That's baloney. Yeah. If the movie does well and people respond to the movie, you know what? Ezra's coming back. If that's the story that they want to tell, if there's a story there that they want to go forward with Ezra, they will go forward with Ezra. This nonsense of Ezra can never come back because of what's happened, that's just not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I will say this about Sasha Cai's Supergirl. I mean, what James Gunn has said about the Supergirl movie, I mean, it's its own origin story. It's a very different origin. Well, certainly Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I mean, it's a very different origin story than what we're getting in Flash.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're not gonna cast a blonde hair, blue-eyed person. They better not, because that'll get a lot of backlash nowadays.
But, having said that, though, I mean, for all what I said about people's confusion, I mean, J.K. Simmons is still J. Jonah Jameson, but he's clearly, just look at him, he's clearly a different Jameson than in the Tobey Maguire movies. So I will say, if you are keeping those cast members, as long as they look different enough so that the audience can accept that, yeah, they're different than in those other movies, then yes, that'll be fine. Like, again, just comes to the messenger, like Will's saying.
Yeah, but also, like, those people, most of the people that watched that movie, they didn't care about that. They just were happy they were seeing 3 Spider-Mans on screen at the same time. They don't care about making sense of why is J. Jonah here from the Tobey movies. They just, whatever, we're just here for the nostalgia and the 3 Spider-Mans. I mean, that movie doesn't have the best script ever either, so...
No, there's some things in there you watch, you gotta go like, okay. I mean, I mean, I remember the first half hour, I was like, all right, can we get to the point where we get the other spider? I was so anxious. I was so anxious, like, ready for them to show up because, the story that they were establishing, I was like, okay.
Well, but just
Jose, you're in like
man.
Sorry, Holly weird.
I remember when Mardi Gras was on a Tuesday because Fat Tuesday. Just saying.
It's always here in Hollywood, baby.
Always, yeah. If you're where he's at, yeah. Especially on a Saturday. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, like you were Enosh was showing like off the bat plane and all that. I mean, it's not as cool, but I do have like here's Batfleck's Batmobile right here.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And this one, I forget. I believe it was in the Arkham games.
Yeah, Arkham. Yeah, that's Arkham. Yeah.
by the way, I gotta say, after the Nolan films, it's funny how much they're like everyone like they just want to take inspiration from the Tumblr, basically, because the Arkham Batman is such like a take on the Tumblr.
You know what? That's the one thing that I gotta be honest with you about the Batman. Even though I have a lot of issues with the Batman movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the hat on tonight, but I have a lot of issues with that movie in general. But the one thing that I got to admit that it actually helped me realize is when I first saw the Batmobile for the Batman, I was like, what the heck is this? Why are they, why is it just a car? And then I had to correct myself because I literally picked up I was reading the comic out of my box. I just grabbed it one day, and that's the first appearance of Jason Todd. And I was reading through that, and I realized, like, wait a second, like, the Batmobile is just a Lamborghini here. And then I read, the next couple episodes or next couple, books after that, and it's like Batman just has a Corvette Stingray that's just black, and the only thing that's Batman about it even is that it has literally this cheesy just like license plate that has the bat symbol on it, right?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that. I was like, it's really weird how we've been programmed over the last couple decades that the Batmobile has to be either this spaceship, rocket, tank, crazy thing. It can't just be a car. Yeah. And it can be a car. Yeah. And actually now, since then, I honestly, the Batmobile from the Batman is now probably one of my favorite Batmobiles because it's just cool, man. You know, and
it's a badass car.
Yeah, it's a sports car with a rocket engine. That's cool.
Well, that reveal, I mean, I saw it 3 times in the movie theater, and I remember I saw it in the what's the RPX or like Sound, whatever the hell.
The war
I mean, like every time you felt it, but man, in that scene, it was just like I felt it in my soul, felt it in my taints. It was just like,
I mean, look, he shouldn't be driving it back. He shouldn't be driving it against traffic 100 miles per hour in the rain where civilians are there. But
but it's so great. It's so great.
Those guys are fine.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're absolutely fine.
Got killed by penguin.
No, they didn't. RJ, you can keep telling yourself that, but they didn't.
I've seen the movie 8 times.
Batman chases the penguin. Batman causes the chase to ensue, which causes, in turn, all this stuff. Batman is just as much at fault as the penguin is. It's called vehicular manslaughter.
He didn't even check on him.
Right. Didn't even check. Didn't even care.
And the thing is, because there's no dialogue in the movie about it, you won't hear the audience whining about Pattinson killing like they whine about Batfleck.
Nope. I mean, that dude driving that semi is dead. I literally had somebody tell me, RJ, I think you were even there. Somebody tried to tell me, oh, well, he jumped to safety. You didn't see that. They didn't jump to no safety. Like it all happened so quick. Just because it's in slow motion in the film doesn't mean. I mean, I know it's a whole other subject.
Like, but I mean, you got to admit, RJ, that's kind of hypocrisy and that's kind of a bias right there. It's like if it was Zack doing a whole big explosion, it would be people talking mad shit about it.
If Zack Snyder showed Batman
with a cool explosion.
If Zack Snyder showed Ben Affleck's Batman putting it to 100 miles per hour, they literally show it going backwards against traffic in the rain with regular people. People would have flipped out about it.
Well, in BVS, we did get that old Batmobile chase where he was crushing those villains' cars.
Yeah, but it was villains. It was bad.
Crushing villains is one thing, though. Crushing villains is one thing. The only problem that I have with the Batman part is the fact that it has to do with civilians who have no other. They can't get away. They can't get away. And Batman doesn't have to chase him. Batman knows where he works. Batman knows where to find the Penguin. You know, it's not like he doesn't know. Like if he doesn't catch him right now, he's going to be lost forever. Like he could definitely pull off something different than to just put the pedal to the metal and just chase him.
What's interesting though, like going in, when it comes to the Batman killing thing, it's like when it comes to Brave and the Bold. We talked about this last night. It's the fact that it's like, okay, they're going to have to be like, we're going to have to, that Batman's going to have to be very much have that code, because then you got Damian. And
Right.
that's going to be the dynamic is the fact that Damian is a trained assassin.
Yes.
So it's like so Batman has to have that code 100% because that's what he's going to have to teach, or
well, that's what I really like about what we're seemingly doing with Batman, both in this and with what Matt Reeves is doing, where both of these versions are seemingly going to be very animated series inspired, where it's like, hey, we're really going to make, and also modern comic inspired. It's like, let's really emphasize the no kill rule and the morality of Batman, because I think all it makes for really interesting stories. Because, and this is meant to be a slight against Zach, but it's like his version was very much a very specific version of Batman, to where you couldn't necessarily do like an under the red hood type story. This type of Batman you can, because that is a story that's all centered around that no kill rule and morality of what Batman does. Is he a hypocrite? Is he this and that? That kind of dichotomy I think is really interesting to play around with.
And also the whole thing, like we were talking earlier about, the whole idea of, wait, again, you're having an older Batman? Well, here's the thing. If we're going into this shared universe with all the heroes are going to team up event soon, you gotta have an older Batman who's had a lot of experience, because with fighting all these villains and all the stuff that he's had to deal with, and he's got no superpowers, he kind of has to have been the first superhero of the Justice League, because he had to have had all these years with no one else to assist him, none of these other big superheroes to assist him. So he kind of has to have been before Superman and Wonder Woman come into the equation. Yeah.
Huh?
Wait, everyone's waiting for Dave to come back. Yeah.
Did I get back in time?
You nailed it.
No. But like I said, so when it comes to Superman, when it comes to the Trinity was always going to be, obviously, that you have to put that at the forefront, which is great. But when it comes to Superman Legacy, that's the biggest question mark, and that's probably the hardest one.
Yeah.
Brave and the Bold, I was like, okay, I like this concept, because you already have an established Batman with the established world, and you're already on the fourth Robin, and the general audience has no idea that Bruce Wayne has a kid. So that could be a good marketing. That could be good marketing. Like, hey, guess what? Did you know that, Batman had a kid, and it's like he made him a Robin, and he's a little piece of shit? That's going to be, and it's like, okay, so we have that. And then all of a sudden it's like, what do you do with Wonder Woman? Especially when the whole Gal Gadot thing is up in the air. Let's just have a Game of Thrones type style series. And, it's going to be on Themyscira, and you could sell that very well, because obviously Game of Thrones, very popular. I mean, the last Game of Thrones series did gangbusters. So they did a good job when it came to those two. But when it comes to Superman, that's the difficult part. So but everything else, I was like, how do you, and of course, when it comes to Batman, you can't make it darker than Reeves' Batman. You really cannot do that. I mean,
you'd be surprised. I mean,
you could, but they're not going to. That's
they're not. They're going to lean into it being a super.
Yeah, they have to lighten them up, make them fantastical. I want some Batman the Animated Series type stuff where it's just grappling hook, swinging, doing some crazy shit. Where you go, that a human couldn't do that. Who gives a shit? Okay, it's fine. We don't need the grounded stuff anymore.
And I'm also willing to bet too. People are gonna probably hate this. I would not be surprised if it's blue and gray with trunks. I would not be shocked if they do it that way.
I want the blue suit.
I'd be down with that. Down with that.
Because navy blue is the color for you to blend into the night. Most people think it's black, but really a navy blue suit would be better for Batman than black.
Like a dark blue. You can don't make it bright blue. A dark blue would look pretty damn cool, I think. And I think they're gonna.
I would have no problem with seeing that for once.
The Mark Waid, Dan Mora, World's Finest comic that's going on right now. Those character designs and live action be perfect. Both of those. Yeah. That's what you got to go with for both Superman and Batman.
Yeah, and don't have it like a heavy, don't have it be like, emphasize the fact that it's like, oh yeah, it's all bulletproof, it's tactical and shit like that. It's like, no, just have like I think that's what Snyder was trying to do a little bit with Batfleck, because it did look like a traditional suit, but of course it was very heavily bulletproof and everything like that. But so there was a fantastical element to his. That's why when it comes to Nolan, Reeves, and Snyder, it's like Snyder was going for that fantastical element, but obviously the more emphasis was on the other fantastical characters more than Batman. I just want this Batman to be like, you know what, embrace the fantastical element. Take it from animated series and all that stuff. I want to see Batman and Robin like swinging on grappling hooks and kicking people with 2 fucking feet and just like, swooping in. I want to see a silhouette of the cape flying in as he's going to tackle some fucking, some people like that. I want to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but not too fantastic. I mean, we don't want Joel Schumacher again.
Yeah, we don't want George Clooney. That's what
bat credit cards.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that fantastical, but but I just a little bit, but there's no way that they're going to go like crazy, because obviously there's the element of Damian Wayne. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting too if like this whole Ben Affleck rumor of him maybe like tackling one of these things, that is going to. I'm just gonna, if that gets announced, I'm just gonna sit back and I'm just gonna start laughing.
Well, because it'll start running through Dave that like now Ben Affleck has turned his back on Zach and has
even though he came back for the Snyder cut.
Yeah, but but now he will have turned his back and betrayed.
Well, I think in the press release, or it was something. I think it was the press release. They mentioned that Ben is part of like that architecture writers room. Like he's already in some of these meetings already.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I'm gonna. I'm just gonna be like, all right, that's gonna be funny because I've seen people on my mentions, I've seen other tweets where like Ben would never work with Gunn, and I'm just like, you guys are just feeling what you're feeling, okay? You guys are just thinking about how you are feeling. You can't do that. It's all about, it's still a business. I've seen people too, like when the whole Jason Momoa thing happened, it was like, oh, what about your bros, Cavill and Fisher and all that stuff? You don't care about that? I'm like, fuck off, man. I mean, it's like Momoa at one point he was like broke and he was, he needed something to happen. And guess who helped with that? Zack Snyder. So obviously he's always in debt with him. But at the same time, do you think Zack would be like, no, you can't do anything that's outside of my universe? No. Zack probably goes, I'm glad, Jason was down and out for a little bit there because he's even admitted it. When he got the Aquaman role, that fucking parlayed him big time. Same thing with Gal. Yep. She was like, she was done acting. She was gonna quit acting. I mean, like, it's just amazing what Zack has done, and just appreciate that. Doesn't mean it has to continue for the next fucking century. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
Good God. Let's be happy for these people.
I want a post-mortem Zack Snyder writing about his, his memoirs of like, where the character should go in perpetuity, forever.
There's no way that we're not going to get more Snyderverse things. Like, not like I said, I would gladly take a cocktail napkin of whatever the fuck the sequels are. I'm totally content on the 9.5 hours of the trilogy that I can have right there, physical copy. It's, I love the fact that I have that, and nothing erases that. We accomplished something crazy, but anything else was going to be a bonus. It's going to be an absolute bonus. It's going to be
they can't take it away from us, man.
They can't take it. And it's always going to be in the ether. It's always going to be talked about. Anytime that there's like another version of a movie that could be coming out, they're going to say release the whatever cut, because that turned into a pop culture phrase. Exactly. Now, I mean, there's so many things that we did. So, I mean, like, there's nothing about it. So I'm always going to look forward to what the new stuff is. And I wouldn't be surprised if down the road we might get either in graphic novel form or maybe animation form, we can get some kind of conclusion. And that would be cool. But I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, my God, we got to fight for it. And blah, blah, blah. No, I'm just going to be like, hey, I don't need to do any campaigning for. I think the only campaigning I want to do is for Constantine too.
Well, there you go. By the way, and if Dave, if it makes it feel better, I believe roughly 90-something% of the voters on that poll said yes, they are at least open to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, well, it's just good. I'm glad they are because. Yeah, I get why they chose Netflix because Zack is working for Netflix, but that doesn't mean he couldn't work for another place. But still at the same time, I'm like, you know, when I got tagged on something where they said like, well, if I participate in the 214 push for this, I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to tweet at all. I've not tweeted that hashtag. I don't plan on tweeting that hashtag. I'm sorry. You guys added like, you know, 17 other movies to the slate. Yep. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to, you know, you guys made it worse. So I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
Not doing it. Not doing it, man. I don't have time to do all that nonsense, man. That's the thing. Is like that's not what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for all this negativity. I didn't sign up for these threats against people, whatever this weird thing that they're possibly doing at Comic-Con, like the pictures of James Gunn, you know, decapitated, all that nonsense.
Oh wow.
You know, 50 more movies, or we're just not gonna, you know, accept it, whatever, all that junk. No, just because, you know, and I'm really getting tired of just because I liked Zack Snyder's stuff that people act like, well, then if you don't do all this new stuff that we're doing, you were never a fan of Zack Snyder. That's BS, man.
Wow.
That's BS. Like, you know, seriously, they're freaking movies, man.
I know, fictional characters. There
are people now who are blocking Chris Wong Swenson and screenshotting that they blocked him because they think he's not a true Zack fan because he's excited for Superman Legacy.
Oh, you believe that? How dare that? I'm sure if Zack would gladly go back on one of his videos and talk with Chris again and be like, and you know what? You know what's funny too is like, you know, I'm hoping Zack is going to be showing up on the vodka stream again, you know, and we're going to talk. And I will ask him like, hey, I'll ask him about the new DC slate. And I'm sure he's going to be like, hey, he's probably going to say, I'm curious to see what James Gunn does because him and James Gunn are acquaintances. They are friends. You know, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be, I mean, and it's going to be funny because I'm like, all right, how are you going to
you'll get angry tweets being like, why'd you ask him about this and that?
I know. Yeah. Because the last time I didn't ask him the tough questions.
Yeah. You know, what's so funny. I saw on Twitter, somebody was gloating about the fact that, well, you know how, you know, why didn't Zack, you know, say something, you know, make a statement, you know, expressing support for Zack the way he expressed, why didn't he express support for James Gunn if he's friends with him, the way he expressed support for Henry Cavill when he was temporarily back? Huh? Was like, seriously?
I know. That's all you got to say is seriously. But we also got Carrie joining right now. I'm not sure what happened to us. Hey, what's going on, Carrie?
Hello.
Hey, Carrie.
What's up, Carrie?
Hey, guys.
Hey, nice. What movie you see?
Knock at the Cabin.
What'd you think?
Ooh.
I don't know what I think yet.
I'm back.
Okay. So you're kind of in the ballpark where I was. I walked out kind of like it. I kind of went like, huh. Like I walked out like, huh. If you watch my first reaction, it's one of those where I was like, not fully like, oh my god, but then I wanted to watch it again because
it felt plays out differently than what you expect a Shyamalan film to play out.
Interesting.
Yes. And I mentioned that last night too. It's like because I'm always thinking about the twist and then the twist of the twist and then the twist of the twist. And this one, what a twist. So twist. Yeah, but this one, I mean, I'm not. It's not spoiling anything, but it seems like it's just kind of a story that hey, this is what's happening. And yes, it does do some things where you're kind of going like, oh, but it didn't have the crazy. And I think that's M. Night Shyamalan. Sadly, that's just what he's made his mark doing that. So when it's not like a thing that's going to be like, oh, you kind of go, oh, okay. So that's why, you know, because like even I didn't like Old that much, but I liked the twist. The twist was really, I was like, oh.
Yeah, Old kind of left me a little, I love Shyamalan. I love his stuff, man.
Yeah.
The only two ones that I don't really, The Happening, I really didn't care for at all.
So bad.
I couldn't really find anything redoming about The Happening, and then Old, I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Say hello to your mother for me.
Plant. Yeah.
Right. And Old, I agree. Like the concept was cool. It was there, but then like the way that it ended it didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah. I actually liked the ending, but I didn't like how it got there. That's the thing.
Yeah. It was really strange actually. But that being said, like I always root for him. And honestly, I wish that he would have continued that that the series stuff that he was just going to produce. Like if you've ever seen Devil.
Oh yeah, Devil.
I really enjoyed Devil, and he was going to do that. What do they call it? What was it? He had like what was it called? The midnight something or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Night something or whatever that was supposed to be, and it was supposed to be a series of films like that he just produced that he didn't direct. And I wish that he would have done that because I love Devil so much, man. Like
I need to see Devil. I haven't seen The Visit.
The Visit's really good, man.
And wasn't both The Visit and Split, weren't those marketed kind of without his name attached to them? Like he directed them both, but they weren't like hyped up as being the next Shyamalan movie, you know?
Yeah, because the past several movies before The Visit were like bomb after bomb after bomb. Like there was like Lady in the Lake and The Happening, and then there was like Last Airbender.
I like the Lady in the Water.
What?
I actually like the Lady in the Water. I didn't mind.
Let's just not acknowledge the Lost Airbender, though. We can all acknowledge.
Yeah, I didn't watch the last.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
So that was
man, so bad.
After Earth or whatever, Happening, and
that one I didn't care for either.
And then Airbender. I haven't seen any of those just because I heard they were really not very. But I don't know the Airbender anime or anything like that. I don't know the.
Yeah, me either.
Oh yeah, I've told the story, but like because I was growing up and that movie came out like I think it was like right when the show ended, so it was like big peak. And I rented it at Blockbusters, but one movie for the weekend. I was so angry. Watching it. It made me so mad.
No, but I kind of like how the way he sort of made his comeback was less relying on the hype of it being an M. Night Shyamalan film and just presenting the film as is and let people
Split was
great. Split was fantastic.
Yeah. I love
my
that.
gosh.
And I love how the twist of Split was that it was purely just that it was a sequel to Unbreakable.
I freaked out. I remember like yelling, and my girlfriend was like sitting there like, "What?" I'm like, it's and she was like, she hadn't seen it, so she was like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was looking at me like, "Why are you freaking out?" I'm like,
right.
Nobody like.
Tiffany was the same way, Dave. Tiffany was the same way. We went to see Split, and then when the end happened, and I freaked out. She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well," because we got out of it like 1 a.m. or something like that, and on a Friday night, we come home, and the first thing I did was open up Unbelievable, man, Unbreakable. I broke out Unbreakable, and we watched Unbreakable right then. And she was just like, "Wow, that's going to be part of this." And I'm like, "Apparently, this is awesome," you know. So,
how did you guys feel about Glass though? 'Cause it's kind of controversial.
I liked it.
I liked it.
It was a little underwhelming.
I was underwhelmed.
It was a little underwhelming, but I didn't think it was horrible.
No, it wasn't horrible.
It's like how Return of the Jedi is considered the weakest of the original trilogy, but still it's good and it's a nice wrap up of the trilogy.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I've never heard the Return of the Jedi said that way before.
I've heard people think about Return of the Jedi that way, but I'll be honest with you. Every time I watch Return of the Jedi, I'm reminded about like why it's really great because a lot of the stuff that we hold dear as Star Wars fans actually comes from that movie.
Absolutely, I love it. I love it. It's just that it's not as loved as the original in Empire Strikes Back. That's what I'm saying.
It's because
of Ewoks.
Yeah,
well, I think Return of the Jedi is probably my personal favorite because of the way it concludes that part of the saga. Even if I can admit that Empire is the better film overall, but my personal favorite, just because I love seeing the progression of Luke starting to become a Jedi Knight. The fact that he got to create his own lightsaber, and he's, there's a lot more going into his, him trying to understand what to do with Vader. And all that kind of stuff, and all the adventures. I was a kid when I watched it, so the Ewoks didn't bother me, and I didn't have
just like being with Jar Jar. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in high school when the Phantom Menace came out, so I was annoyed with Jar Jar right away. But
youngins, can we get William back in here so I don't feel so old?
Yeah.
No, but Carrie, now you're here. Obviously, we veered into like other territory, but I wanted to get your take on, of course, on what happened this week when it came to the DCU Chapter 1. What was the project that stood out for you? And
you're gonna ask me next time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I know, but like you're in and out of this. Yeah, I know.
I know. It's fine. I'm here now, though. It's fine.
Okay.
Well, before you guys do that, I got to get going.
Okay.
Love you all. Thank you, Dave, for having me on. Love all you guys. RJ, I love you still.
I love you still.
Much love. All right, guys. I'll have a good night. All right.
Take it easy, Nash. Bye. Okay, so we'll go Carrie first, and then Jose next. But Jose, please mute your mic because we hear everything. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, garbled. Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so I'm so glad you asked this, Dave. I've really been thinking a lot about this and trying to figure out where I land on this. So we're going to get introduced to Kang in Quantum Mania, and we're going to get introduced to this whole idea of he's asking Scott Lang to go on this mission for him, and I think there's something that's going to happen in there where there's going to all of a sudden be a splintering of multiple Kangs, and we're going to see them spread to the different places of the MCU multiverse. And oh wait, that wasn't your question, was it?
No.
Oh God.
Okay.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Zing, zing, ding, ding, brum, psh. All right.
I'm sure Scott has explained this to you. I am on the same page as Tim from the Squadcast, the DC Squadcast. I'm broken as a DC fan because of the dismissal of Henry Cavill.
Same.
So honestly, there is absolutely nothing in the DC slate that has me excited or interested. Not even remotely.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
So the sourness of the Henry Cavill thing is just totally
it overrides it all for me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna take me probably a few years really to get over it. I really think, to be honest. So, or maybe it's gonna take me, like I keep talking about the Man of Steel's 2 script, a story that I keep working on. Maybe it's going to take me finally finishing that to feel like I have any real sense of closure behind it. So it also, here's the other thing that doesn't help. I acknowledge Grant Morrison's an amazing writer. I'm not that big a fan of his.
Uh-oh.
So I personally think All-Star Superman is kind of overrated.
Oh,
it's not what I've read it. I have read it multiple times, and each time I kind of go, I don't really get what's going on here. I don't really get what he's trying to say. Why is Superman fighting this sun being Solaris? Why is he fighting Atlas and Samson? Are these characters that are rooted in the DC lore mythology somewhere from like the 60s or 70s or something like that? Why are we if this is supposed to be kind of celebration of all things Superman, like where's Brainiac in the midst of this? Like the Luthor stuff is fantastic. The stuff with Lex Luthor and All-Star Superman is fantastic. But Morrison is just one of those writers who, again, he writes action really well. He gets great characterization down and everything like that. But at some point, he just gets too weird for my liking. And it's just harder to latch on. So the fact that Gunn is looking towards All-Star Superman as an inspiration for Superman Legacy and his, Morrison's, Batman and Robin run introducing.
Yeah.
I never warmed up to Damian Wayne.
Who has?
I just never.
I have.
I just never learned.
I like Damian. Okay.
I just never learned to appreciate him as a character. I was just kind of like, I really don't need.
I thought it's a good twist for Batman. For like, oh yeah, remember that time, that one night you had with Talia? Guess what?
Yeah.
Your pullout game is bad, dude.
It creates an interesting dynamic for sure. So I'm not going to like downplay that, but I think the way that Morrison did that. Well, okay, it doesn't help for me the fact that when Morrison was in the thick of his run at the time in the comics of his Batman run, that was right when the Dark Knight came out. At the time, the Dark Knight, Batman Begins and Dark Knight really reignited my love and passion for Batman, but also for superheroes in general. So I was like, I want to get back into reading Batman. but Bruce Wayne's not Batman right now
Yeah,
in the comic. And like I just watched this movie that is very street level, crime drama focused, no superpowers, no fanciful stuff at all. And yet Bruce Wayne is, because of Final Crisis, Bruce Wayne is quantum leaping across time. I'm like, this is not the Batman type of Batman stories I'm interested in. So that's why when New 52 launched and Scott Snyder took over as the main book, it took Scott Snyder writing Detective to get me reinterested in Dick Grayson and also buy into him being Dick Grayson being Batman in the cowl. But then New 52 came along, Scott Snyder took over the main book, went into Court of Owls, and I was like, this is the territory I've been wanting to land in for the last few years.
It's like the one good thing about New 52. The one good thing about New 52 is Scott Snyder's run as Batman.
Superman Unchained, that also Scott Snyder wrote and did with Jim Lee, is also excellent. So
you were you a fan at all of the Action Comics New 52 with Grant Morrison at all?
Initially, but again, I also that also didn't really seem to land anywhere from what I recall. So initially, I was fine with it, but I also didn't feel like he didn't get going far enough into it to like pay off anything he attempted to set up and whatnot. So, but plus, I mean, the whole approach to Superman period in the New 52 was off because they dissolved the marriage with him and Lois. They went out of their way to try and keep him and Lois from interacting, period, for almost the entirety of the New 52. I always thought that was kind of strange with it, but.
Nothing's remotely even like tapping into your curiosity at all or anything, or is it just
not really? It's just gonna make me go like, what? Depending on what happens with Superman Legacy, it's probably gonna play out like, why couldn't you have had Cavill do this? Even like Swamp Thing. Like the Swamp Thing DC Universe show was awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would rather see a continuation of that than, but I mean,
but you can't.
I'm not enough a fan of.
You can't blame the new regime because the old regime fucked up so badly. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's not the point, though, Dave.
You can't.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
You're not wrong, Dave. It's just I know I can't divorce my emotional attachment to, and Swamp Thing is a character I'm not as emotionally invested into. Like I'm like, okay, well, best of luck. I mean, and again, this isn't saying that I won't see the movies when they come out. It's just I'm just gonna walk in with varying levels of apprehension going into it. Mangold's a great director. If he ends up being the guy for it, then. Best of luck to him, and I don't doubt his ability to pull it off necessarily, but and I just, the other thing too, if James Gunn ends up directing Superman Legacy, that's kind of like, hey guys, that means Emmerich is laughing at us because Emmerich wanted Gunn to direct a Superman movie, so
I know there's that whole aspect of it too, but. But okay, Jose, now that you're fully back, let's get your take on this whole thing. Now that you're strolling down the street, I almost think you need, if you can tell by the way I move my.
Just think of that. No, you knew that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like walking, he's like walking all happy. That's me right now.
Yeah.
Okay, my thoughts. All right. Well, I'm not hating everything like Carrie. But I'm cautiously optimistic, basically, is the way I would describe it. I mean, it sucks about Henry, but, if it's truly it just came out the other day, right, that Superman's going to be 25 years old.
Yeah.
Well, Carrie, I'm sorry, but Henry can't play a 25-year-old. Mm-hmm. No matter how much you want him to and you think he can, he's not. If he's going to be a young 25-year-old, it's not going to be Henry. So, okay, that is what it is. Then we're going to have a new Superman. Everything. I mean, I'm excited about the Batman. I mean, I'm a huge Batman fan. Batman's my number one. And I like Damon. I like Damon as a character. I think it's very interesting. I mean, it's kind of the whole how Damon came to be. I don't know. That's going to be a little tough.
I'm kind of wondering that myself.
I'm wondering how they're going to handle that. But I'm excited about that because that's interesting to me that they're going to just start right from the bat that he finds out he has a son. Swamp Thing. I've always liked Swamp Thing. I mean, when I was a kid, I watched the Swamp Thing, that cheesy Swamp Thing movie, and I've always liked him as a character.
Cartoon. There was a cartoon also.
Yeah, the cartoon and all that too. So I'm excited about that. And I don't know. It's just like I said in the chat that Monday, or when was it announced? It was a Monday,
Tuesday,
right? Or
Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Tuesday was announced. I was like, some things are cool. Other things I was like, who the fuck is that? I don't even know what this is.
The Authority.
Like, I'm not yeah, I was like, who? But then I remember, Midnighter and Apollo. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It was like one of those.
And then, so I was like, that's cool. I'm just trying to like I was telling you in the chat the other day, I'm trying to figure out like where this is all heading, which is I'm guessing. I mean, it's called Gods and Monsters, so I'm guessing they're gonna have some, magical, mystical stuff, and the jail dark is gonna be involved. Maybe, perhaps, somehow, and it's not even everything has been announced yet either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand Carrie's, I understand Carrie's frustration and a lot of people's frustration that they're just done. They don't care. They don't want to. But maybe later on things will change. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm intrigued. I'm cautiously optimistic and intrigued. I never wanted as soon as Gunn said he was writing the Superman movie, I was like, he's gonna direct it. And I don't know about, because he directs everything he writes almost all the time.
Yeah.
And so just, I don't know. But I think Gunn is smart enough to know, like he even said it himself, right? It's not going to be the Gunverse. Like, this is not going to be the Gunverse. Not everything is going to be exactly like
that he said that.
my movies or whatever. But I don't know. It's just, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird starting a whole, because it's hard to get over these last 10 years that came and went and nothing, and everything was a waste. It was a waste basically, except for getting, some awesome movies here and there. But it was pretty much all that is done now. And I also don't know. I was always the one this should be like a full reboot. Like, don't do a soft reboot.
Yeah.
But then I figured Gunn's not gonna get rid of his cast and characters and stuff like that. So he was probably figuring out how to like tie everything in together. And it's easy. You got the Flash. He fucks shit up, and shit doesn't stay. Some stuff stays the same, and some stuff doesn't. It is what it is. It's been like that forever. The thing is, you getting the, I don't know. I think getting the audience involved in it and into it is gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because they've been here before, and some people are gonna be like, "Wait, what happened to Ben Affleck? What happened to Henry Cavill and all this shit?" So, but I mean, if you deliver a good movie, and the actors are good and all that stuff, then that's all you need to go from there. But I don't think it's gonna. I think it might not be a big success right from the start.
No,
I think they're gonna struggle because you're basically starting over.
They just need profits right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be like crazy, so that they're gonna have low budgets, and then they just need to get that 2.5 to 3 times that budget. And I think that's what they're shooting for right now. They're not shooting for $1 billion. Right now.
I mean, well, with Superman though, how low can you go with Superman though? Because with Superman, like, you should be spending at least 150 to 200 million.
Yeah,
I mean, I heard that they're capping this shit off at 100, but I'm just kind of. But when I heard that, I was like, okay, 100, but I'm like, but some of these need probably a little bit more. Like, I can understand certain, probably most of them, but I'm like, I don't know, but it's.
I mean, it's probably gonna be just story driven and like 2 action scenes, and that's it.
But that's not gonna make for like, and this is like, listen, story's important. It's paramount. But like, if you're trying to attract general audience, they need some flashy stuff. They need some good action. They need some good stuff for those trailers.
I mean, that was the complaint about Superman Returns. Didn't have enough action.
I mean,
among other things, that was one of them.
And how exactly are you going to do a low-budget Swamp Thing? I mean, seriously.
Well, they did it with the series.
Yeah, that's going to need some practical effects and all that stuff.
Yeah, as long as you got the suit, like the suit is mostly prosthetics.
The one, actually, if it's 100 million, the one I'm most concerned about then would be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Because if you look at like the artwork in that comic, it's super. It looks expensive just looking at those pages and that artwork.
But at the same time, I mean, people were even bringing this up to me too. It's like the Mandalorian and that kind of stuff, utilizing the dome or the volume or something like that. There's always that. I don't know. Like, I still don't understand. like, is that cost effective or not? Because I know like there's been times where people like were going to use it, like Zach was going to use it at one point, but then decided not to.
It's hit or miss for budgets. I mean,
yeah, it really is. It really is.
Let me tell you this: when I got the Batman on 4K and I put it on, and it gets to the part where they're in the, that building or
Matt
whatever.
Reeves knew how to utilize it. Matt Reeves knew.
And
how
I
to
was,
use
I don't know. I was kind of looking at it. I was like, this kind of looks kind of noticeable to me.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
Listen, the volume in the Batman was mostly used for like backgrounds and stuff, like imagery, like for backgrounds. It wasn't like Thor: Love and Thunder where the whole movie was in the volume. It's just like,
Yeah, it was that one scene where they're talking on the, and she's like, Catwoman jumps off the building. That's all the volume right there. But then I was looking, I was like, that's kind of noticeable to me. It looks a little off, but I don't know. It just depends on the person, I guess.
By the way, going back to Swamp Thing for a second, what are the odds that he's going to resolve and continue the show? Because the show doesn't exactly have continuity with anything, but
no,
I
don't think it will.
Everything is going to be brand new.
Here's a big reason why. Like, don't forget, James Wan was part of the production of the Swamp Thing show. So I think James Wan is out of the Warner Brothers lot as soon as Aquaman 2 drops. Because he's got his deal with Universal and Blumhouse. So,
on that note, we were all wondering who Dave Bautista could play, considering how he's not playing Bane. I mean, he'd be a great Swamp Thing.
I think he'd be a good Hugo Strange.
He said he's already done. He got sick of having to put on the prosthetics for Drax.
Yeah, he's not going
to do that for Swamp.
He's not going to. Yeah, he's not going to.
He got sick of everything with Drax.
Yeah.
Didn't he say he wanted to be Lex Luthor?
Yeah, well, because people fan cast him because he's bald. I hate that shit. He's bald, so
he's bald and wears glasses.
The thing is, the bald and with a deep tan, Luthor. I mean, that's very much like the animated Luthor from the Bruce Timm.
It is.
The brave and the bald.
Yeah.
Can
I add a couple points?
No. Oh, wait, I'm not done. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I mean, and my issue is not because I don't think the storytellers aren't capable of delivering on good stories or anything like that. It's just, I know I'm not in a place where I'm ready to just reconnect with the new version when I guess I'm just at the point where when it comes to superhero storytelling, I expect you to give the conclusion. That's an expectation. I got the conclusion to Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. I got a conclusion to I watched Endgame earlier today. I got a conclusion to Tony Stark's arc, so I don't need more of his Iron Man. I got a conclusion to Steve Rogers' arc with Chris Evans, so I don't need more of his Captain America. So it was far easier for me to jump on board. Okay, Sam Wilson as the new Cap, and I'm excited. I wouldn't say I'm excited. I'm open-minded enough for Ironheart, and but I'm really excited for Rhodey to finally get some front and center, experience as a lead in Armor Wars and his War Machine.
Oh yeah, that's
story. Don Cheadle's a leading actor, so he's been kind of second fiddle for too long in the MCU. So I'm more open to that kind of stuff because I got those conclusions, whereas the DC EU is just kind of getting up.
What were they calling that? What were they calling that monster universe with the mummy and all that? What were they trying to call it?
Oh,
the
Dark Universe. We never got a conclusion to that. You don't hear me complaining. No.
I didn't even bother to see it.
Where's my Invisible Man movie?
I was really looking forward to that Russell Crowe Jekyll and Hyde movie. You never got it.
Well,
they messed up that bad. You know what? They were trying to make it PG-13 action movies. When I walked out of the Mummy, I was like, all right, there's some cool things that are in here. Like that plane crash sequence was fucking amazing. I was like, that was really cool. But the whole thing where he's seeing his zombie partner, which is Jake Johnson.
It's a ripoff of American Werewolf.
Very much a ripoff of American Werewolf. And then of course there was a lot of action that was happening, and I'm like, man, if they would have just taken the time to make this more of a horror movie, this would be great. But they fucking trying to make it this Tom Cruise action film.
And Tom Cruise, he has to be running.
And the weird part is that
he does.
Well, the weird part is too spoiler alert for this old movie, but the Mummy in the title isn't like the Mummy in the Dark Universe isn't Sophia Butella. The Mummy is Tom Cruise, who becomes the Mummy at the end. Like what?
Yeah, they try to do this whole weird thing where it's like, wait a minute, it just
basically
they
making him a
for
superhero.
It. Yeah, they were trying to do that, and then they have Russell Crowe in there as Dr. Jekyll,
who's the Sam Jackson type.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like these Easter eggs and stuff, and it's like they were really trying, but it just did not work. It was just like too much.
It is sad though. They had like a full cast in mind for like the major characters. Like they had Javier Bardem as Frankenstein. They had Angelina Jolie as Bride of Frankenstein. They had Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, and so on and so on.
They put way too many carts before.
Fun fact, you know that photo they put out where they announced the Dark Universe and the cast.
Right about
that photo of the cast. None of them were in the same photo together. It was all Photoshop.
They that was all Photoshopped together. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they were individual and they put it all together. Yeah, it was like they were really trying to capture that the MCU for this shit.
I mean, Feige at least waited till Iron Man was a success until he started announcing the cinematic universe.
Exactly. But they thought they had something because they have the Universal Monsters, which everybody is known for decades and decades and decades. But it's like you can't do it like that.
Yeah, the original shared movie universe was the Universal Monsters. Yeah.
What they should have done is because now they probably could. You know, they got that Blumhouse connection. Just do low budget horror movies that all are kind of like somewhat connected, maybe like adjacently, but just like lean in on just making, hey, we're gonna like do remakes of these classic monster movies, so make them like really low budget, fun horror films.
Well, that's what happened with the Invisible Man that they just had. That was great.
Yes.
That was a fantastic movie. It was low budget, made a lot of money. And it was like it was an updated version of the Invisible Man. I thought it was fantastic. I thought Lee Winnall did it.
I gotta watch that again.
You know what? And on that note, it would be interesting to see a modernized version of Phantom of the Opera, of all things. Now, whether they do the original story or whether they go with the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, I don't know. But
I still feel like there's a great. I mean, the one with Benicio del Toro is pretty good, but I still feel like there's a really awesome Wolfman.
Well, they're supposed to be doing one with Ryan Gosling. Apparently, I don't know if that's still
Ryan Gosling as Wolfman. Wow.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to be happening? But I'm with you, Carrie. Like the one with Benicio del Toro, I thought that was actually pretty decent. Like it wasn't bad at all. But
I think it's just it's tough when you can't get away from the resolution is like, oh, he just has to keep running. Yeah. He has to keep running away from the people that are hunting him.
I was watching this video on that movie, and it was like they said that it was basically like Benicio's passion project. He was a producer on it. He financed a lot of it, with the other producers, and it just sucks that it didn't. It wasn't that big of a success.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a bad movie. It really is not a bad movie.
So. But I mean,
and you got Emily Blunt in there, so you can't go wrong with that, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And again, I can't speak for other people, but for me, like superheroes are my bread and butter, and the comics have been maintaining an ongoing universe for a long time. Even when they have changeovers in writers and artists, and even when they reboot, they still are making the effort of trying to keep it a connected universe. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's always on the mindset. Whereas trying to do that cinematically is a pretty new phenomenon, with this stuff. So trying to create a cinematic universe out of something that's not based in comics is always, I guess you could argue Star Wars did it first, in some aspects. So, I would be, as far as just my overall tone and feeling on the whole thing, I would be far more open-minded if I had actually gotten a conclusion of some kind, even if it was just one final Cavill swan song film. That would have been okay, at least I got that. I could be a little bit more. And I also, it's like they've already announced they have the Elseworlds imprint of films with the Batman movies, and Joker 2, and. I'm just like, if you've already got the Elseworlds thing, like, why not? Like, that's where I would want to see a Cavill Superman solo movie now, or if the stars were to align somehow, getting Zack to come back and finish. I mean, Zack himself, before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, he was calling his version of Justice League and Elseworlds Tale.
Yeah.
So there's no reason you couldn't continue that saga. In my mind, there's no reason you couldn't continue those things in.
It's all about money. It's money. That's the thing.
Well,
They're not going to spend the money on that.
But again, Dave, like you're saying, like you've been pushing for like Constantine 2 being in Elseworlds. Well, look how much money is with all the special effects that has got to go into a Constantine movie. I'm pretty sure that
not as much as a Superman movie. That's what I said too, Eric.
I really hope Constantine 2 still happens. I just don't know anymore.
I honestly don't think it will.
I don't think it's going to happen.
But just like it makes so much sense as Elseworlds, though, you know?
Yeah, it would. It would. It totally would. But it was Pam DeLuca and Alan Horn and all those guys that announced it right before James Gunn and Saffron came about. So I don't think I mean that's like when I talked about it the other day and I posted the shot. I was like, yeah, I'm worried. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it would be stupid not to because it's Keanu Reeves. It's like capitalizing.
He prints money, man.
He prints money, and they could do. But you know, they're probably looking at it as like, okay. Budget, and they're looking at it as and if they care about Constantine 2 because that movie came out like 15 years ago, whatever the fuck. And I mean, it's just so many things that they're probably considering and not, you know, and that's the thing. And then of course they're trying to establish a new Justice League Dark right now. So
Well,
and if it's Gunn overseeing everything, he's going to want to make sure he puts his stamp on everything. So bringing back Keanu Reeves, it would not necessarily be that. So
yeah, it's all going to be interesting. But I think we should wrap this up. We're going on 3 hours right now. I know RJ, you said he had to go. So,
yeah, I do. But I just want to thank you for having me on, Dave. It's been a blast. And everyone have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, for sure. But thank you everybody who showed up today. Obviously, you know, I like doing these and talking to you guys. That's why I wanted to do this one real quick after this week because I wanted to get your guys' opinions on it because I like the differing opinions and stuff. But of course, you know, when it comes to the panel, I love, you know, that you guys, the support and all that stuff. But yeah, let's go around the horn and promote anything that you guys have or anything right there. So first off, Eric.
Yeah, well, you can find me on Twitter at Hardboiled Films, and yes, we are doing what we can to like keep the ball running for the Justice League Motion Comic Sunset of the Gods. You can follow that on Twitter at JL Motion Comic. Make sure you do, and make sure you tell your friends. And if you don't know if you think you could act, tag DM me, and if you don't think you can act, find a friend who can, have them DM me.
There you go. All right, Doug.
At Doug Burby on Twitter. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no problem.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right, Jose. Are you in a car now?
Yes, I'm in a car now. I'm everywhere, man. I get around this town.
Okay.
I gotta do my runs,
at least we see your face, Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm not at home laying down on my bed now. I'm out and active right now.
Eating Taco Bell. Yeah.
Yes, it's really me in my profile picture, people. I'm not a catfish.
There you go.
So I'm Jose. That's my Twitter handle right there. I don't really have nothing to promote because I don't do much, but I'm just, just looking forward to I'm a DC fan. I want to see these movies. I hope they're good and successful. I'm just cautiously optimistic.
There you go.
Because
make a
it is what it is. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Carrie, anything?
Nope. If you want to find me on Twitter, ask someone else.
There you go. Ask someone else.
Wow. Bird.
Makes sense. I
got reasons to make it obvious to not find me. So
yes, he does have reasons for sure.
Hold on, let me say one more thing.
Okay.
Lane, I see you. Thick and Wolf. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go. You guys in your Thick and Wolf right there. Thick and Wolf, whatever. Yeah,
whatever.
All right. Yeah. All right, guys. Make sure you smash that like, thumbs up. And if you want to be part of the discussion next time, subscribe to the Patreon. Try to do as much extra stuff on there as I can. And you guys are great. Love it. Love the support and everything. And we will talk to you later.
Adios.